Good evening and welcome everyone to today's special presentations. We actually have two presentations that we'll be doing, and would like to welcome everybody. If you're returning, if you've already joined us for these before, welcome back. If it is your first time joining us here in the council chamber, thank you for joining us. It is a pleasure to host you here in the city of Moreno Valley, where we conduct the people's business. And to begin, we'll be starting off on a somber yet inspiring note as we recognize the life and legacy of Mr. Alfred Smith, or as we all knew him, as the world knew him, Mr. Brenton Wood, the musical icon who recently passed away at the start of this year. And this is something that most of us have probably seen, whether it was through word of mouth, you heard it from a friend, or you saw it on the news. His passing was a big deal because he impacted so many people. And I'm sure we all have personal stories of how he impacted our lives, whether we knew him or not. His music, right? The vibrations of his music really just rippled throughout the entire world and have left that lasting legacy here for us to remember, right? Every time we can play his songs, we can remember him, right? And maybe get a piece of, what was in his mind, right? And what was in his heart. And I still remember growing up in Compton, my dad, he had two Chevy Bel Airs, a bright baby blue one and a pink one with the dice in the rearview mirror. And on the weekends, we would go for rides, and he, every now and then, just give me some kind of sign would come on, right? And man, to this day, it is still a song that you just have to have on repeat. It's one of those unforgettable melodies that just keeps playing in your head again and again. Just a little personal story there of something that I remember from my childhood. Music is an amazing thing. It's an art form that can evoke just about every emotion, bringing you back to a moment in time that you will always remember because of the tune. Mr. Brenton Wood, originally from Compton, settled right here in our beautiful city of Moreno Valley. After such an amazing career with multiple hit songs breaking through to the US Billboard Hot 100 and touring the world, he decided to keep a quiet and humble life in our community. And I didn't know that he lived here in the city of Moreno Valley. I think a lot of us did not know. But it's very, important to recognize that as well. And with his recent departure, a rebound of appreciation has been circulating throughout our communities. And it would humble Mr. Wood to know that he has impacted so many people. With us tonight, accepting a certificate of recognition in honor of Mr. Brenton Wood's legacy, are members of his family, Marilyn and Brandon Smith. If you would please join me, if we could give them a big Moreno Valley round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It is an honor.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
There is much to say about your father, but I would like to hand the mic over and the floor over to both of you if you would like to share a few words.
Well, we would just like to thank everyone for their warm support and love that they've had for our father for so many years. He loved his fans, he loved his community, and his legacy will live on with his music. And whether you knew him from going to a casino concert, a venue like the Greek or the Microsoft, or a cruise, he's done it all, and he will be remembered for the love he had for his fans and the love that he had for his community. He moved here out of basically a business necessity. He spearheaded the casino concerts, and he was spending so much time at the casinos out here, he decided it was just best to move here. So he settled in Moreno Valley and he grew to love it, including the donkeys, which scared me. I ran in the house, Dad, all these donkeys. He says, oh, don't be afraid. So he loved it here, the donkeys, the calmness, the quiet. And we're going to miss him, but his legacy is going to live on. Thank you.
I'm a man of fewer words than my sister, so I'll just say a heartfelt thank you.
Thank you very much to the both of you and your entire family as well. I know you have other members of your family with us. And at this time, I would like to invite my colleagues on the council to join us down here at the mic as we present this special certificate of recognition, recognizing a musical icon and honoring the legacy of Mr. Brenton Wood on behalf of the mayor and the city council and all of our residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we can take a picture together. Well, thank you once again. Can we give them another big round of applause, please? Thank you so much for joining us. And for our second presentation of the evening, it's a presentation kind of not, but it's an exciting moment in the city of Moreno Valley as well. I would like to invite our very own Fire Chief, Park, up to the mic to introduce our newest addition to the city of Moreno Valley.
Thank you. I'm going to let our newer members come on up. I hope you all got a chance to see the new squad. I'm proud to introduce the city's new paramedic squad and some of our new members. I hope you noticed newly built Squad 65 as you're walking in. It's an eye-catching and modern piece of fire equipment. It's the newest in the county. Once again, we're providing exceptional service and bringing new equipment to the county and the city of Moreno Valley. This squad is housed out of Kennedy Park Fire Station 65. Last year, Station 65 ran 4,240 calls using one fire engine. And this year, by adding the new squad, both engine and Squad 65 will be able to share that call volume, increasing our capability and shortening response times, which can be crucial when seconds count. Squad 65 has a total of 6 firefighters assigned to it, 2 people each day, and I'd like to introduce the crew that is on shift now. Michael Knox has been a firefighter paramedic for 5 years. He started in the city of Desert Hot Springs. He grew up in Moreno Valley and is glad to be back here. Michael provides advanced life-saving care to our residents. Fire apparatus engineer Roberto Melendez drives the squad. He used to work for the Forest Service, and he assists with patient care and documentation. And of course, both Melendez and Knox are certified firefighters as well, and able to respond to fires and rescues in the city. Now I'd like to introduce a new fire captain, Trey Smith. Trey Smith is not a new captain, but he's new to us. He took one of our vacant positions. He transferred here because of the city's reputation and our call volume. Captain Smith is not on the squad. He is assigned to our hook and ladder, Truck 2, out of the Sunnymead Station. Captain Smith is a dedicated fire service professional with over 2 decades of experience. And Truck 2 is one of the busiest trucks in the county. Captain Smith specializes in both fire, rescue, and rescue operations. We're excited to have such dedicated individuals join the Moreno Valley Battalion, and we want to thank them for being here, and especially we want to thank the mayor and council for their dedication to public safety, because without your support, we would not be able to increase the service or attract the talent that you see here tonight. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Chief. And maybe if I can invite my colleagues again so we can take a group picture here as well. But as the Chief said, well, welcome aboard and thank you for all the work that you do. As the Chief said, we are a very busy fire department here in the city of Moreno Valley. So we just appreciate your service to our community and look forward to seeing that medic squad around the city saving lives. So thank you so much.
You want to grab that?
Let me take the, oh, yeah.
Thank you once again to our amazing fire department for all the work that you do every single day to keep our community safe. And yes, we will continue as a city, as a council, as staff and residents to invest into our public safety apparatuses and personnel to ensure that our community stays safe. So with that, we will conclude our special presentations, bless you, for this afternoon, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes for our regular council meeting. Thank you. Well, good evening, buenas tardes, and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley. The City Council receives a separate stipend from the CSD if any CSD business is conducted at this meeting. I now call this meeting to order on February 18th at 6 p.m. We will go ahead and move into the Pledge of Allegiance, which would anyone like to lead us in the pledge for this evening? Okay. Councilmember Delgado will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Please remain standing after the pledge for the invocation given by Pastor Anthony Louis Fox from True Vine Ministries.
Please join me by placing your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Father, again, we thank you that we can come together and have this meeting. We do pray your blessings be upon this meeting. We pray a special prayer for our mayor. We pray a special prayer for those that will come together and support him. And we just pray for this city. We pray that you will bless the law enforcement. We pray that you will bless our firemen, our police department. We just pray that you will bless the citizens of this city. And we pray that you will bless, even as we come together, that you will bless to be on one accord. And let it be a blessing where this city can be prosperous, where it could be have its support, and what could have the people come together on one accord. We ask all these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you once again, Pastor Anthony Louis Fox from True Vine Ministries. Appreciate you joining us this evening. That brings us to item D, roll call. Madam Clerk, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard,
Here.
Councilmember Delgado,
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Here.
and Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Here.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing as we're all present, we will move past item E for excused absences, which brings us to staff introductions, please.
Patty Rodriguez, City Clerk.
Paul Bradvica, Deputy City Clerk.
Sonia Gomez, Management Assistant.
Stephen Quintanilla, City Attorney. Brian Mohan, City Manager.
Lana Jimenez, Assistant City Manager over Administration, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer.
Sean Kelleher, Assistant City Manager Development.
Angelica Fraustalupo, Community Development Director.
Melissa Walker, Director of Public Works.
Patty Wheat, PCS Admin and Financial Services Division Manager.
Robert Cardenas, Human Resources Director.
Keith Gimmel, Acting Economic Development and Housing Director.
Sarah Mack, Chief of Police.
And Jesse.
Thank you very much, staff. It's always a pleasure to be here in the chamber with you to conduct the city's business. That brings us to item G, which is approval of order of agenda. Are there any requests from my colleagues on the council? If not, I'm looking for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
and Councilmember Bernard, and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item H, which is public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. The city now offers language translation services through the free app called Wordly. The app automatically translates a variety of languages into English and vice versa. To use this service, please scan the QR code at the speaker sign-up table by the double doors. For the visually impaired, please use your earphones or earbuds to listen to the verbal translation. If you do not have any listening devices, please let the city clerk's office know that you need to borrow one for this meeting. We will gladly do so. La ciudad ahora ofrece servicios de traducción de idiomas a través de una aplicación gratuita llamada Wordly. Si alguien gusta usar este servicio, avísenle a la secretaria y entregue una tarjeta para hablar. Para usar la traducción, escanee el código QR que está en la mesa de enfrente. Before we move on to public comments, I'd like to remind everyone to direct their comments to the City Council. For comments on items on tonight's agenda, each speaker will have a total of 3 minutes to comment. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
We do, Mayor. The first three speakers are Sandra Reyes, followed by Angel Cervantes, followed by Delilah.
And if you need to, good evening, welcome. If you need to lower the mic, you can lower it there, and there's also a button on the actual desk that you can press to lower it if needed.
¿Me escuchan? Sí, ya. Okay. Ok. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Sandra Reyes y hoy vengo representando a la organización TODEC Legal Center, pero también a nuestra comunidad inmigrante y miembros que nos están viendo virtualmente porque se encuentran con temor de salir de sus casas. Hoy también me encuentro aquí como miembro de esta comunidad. Es por eso que hoy voy a hablar en español para representarlos y representar sus voces. Primeramente quiero agradecer el liderazgo del concejal González, la concejal Sheilinda, el alcalde Cabrera, por escuchar a su pueblo de Moreno Valley y por el continuo participación comunitaria para tomar acción y analizar lo que podemos hacer como ciudad para y por el bienestar de nuestros pueblos trabajadores y sus familias. Como representantes de la comunidad, recibimos día a día múltiples historias de nuestras familias de inmigrantes que viven en la ciudad y que se encuentran con grandes problemáticas y con mucho temor de ser separados como familias. Tienen temor constante e incertidumbre de no saber si llegarán a casa después de su trabajo para llegar y abrazar a sus hijos. Escuchamos sobre estudiantes que temen por no querer ir a la escuela, enfermos que temen por ir a las clínicas u hospitales por sus tratamientos o consultas, negocios que están siendo impactados en las ventas por este temor de no salir a las calles y que afectan al final del día la economía de todos. Son tiempos difíciles y como ciudad y comunidad debemos estar unidos para poder solventar y dar solución a las problemáticas que se viven en nuestra comunidad. El día de hoy estamos aquí para pedir el apoyo de todo el concilio, para demostrar que la ciudad de Moreno Valley aprecia las contribuciones de nuestro pueblo trabajador y respeta las leyes estatales que los protegen. El día de hoy venimos a entregar miles de firmas de residentes de Moreno Valley que han estado llegando a nuestras instalaciones por medio de nuestros centros y que respaldan esta iniciativa, pero que por temor a salir de sus casas no pudieron estar presentes hoy físicamente. Sin embargo, están mirándonos desde la plataforma virtual en señal de apoyo. Quiero terminar diciendo que estamos agradecidos de un Moreno Valley que está representando a todos. Muchas gracias.
The next three speakers are Angel Cervantes, followed by Delilah, followed by Zoe.
Hello, my name is Delilah. I also live in Moreno Valley. I am here representing my loved ones. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for listening to us and taking action on this resolution in support of our immigrant community. I have friends who have been having nightmares about being separated from their family. I hope this effort helps make my family and friends feel safer so that we can grow together as a community surrounded by kindness. Hi, my name is Zoe, and I live in Moreno Valley, California. I'm here today to speak for my friends and family. I want to say thank you to the mayor and city council for listening to us and our families. We're happy that they are ready to pass a decision to support our immigrant parents and community. I want to share something that happened at school One of my classmates started crying in class because he was scared. He's the only U.S. citizen in his family, and he's afraid that his parents might be taken away and he'll be left all alone here. It made me really sad and worried for him because no one should have to feel like that. It hurts me and that he and his family might be torn apart.
Thank you. The next three speakers are Angel Cervantes, followed by Gabriel Sanchez, and followed by Nicole Murray and Penny Sachs.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Ángel, vengo representando a mi comunidad de Moreno Valley. No tomaré mucho de su tiempo. Quiero expresar un sincero agradecimiento por tomarnos en cuenta a nosotros, una comunidad migrante y trabajadora, que aunque no todos pudimos venir, todos nosotros valoramos profundamente el apoyo que nos están brindando. Cada uno de nosotros trae consigo una historia de esfuerzo, sacrificio y esperanza. Muchos de nosotros trabajamos incansablemente para construir un futuro mejor para nuestras familias y para contribuir al bienestar de la comunidad. Sabemos que nuestras manos y corazones son una parte fundamental de la fuerza laboral y el apoyo que nos brindan nos motiva a seguir adelante y con fe. Gracias por reconocer nuestras necesidades, por ser consistentes de nuestros desafíos y sobre todo por extendernos una mano en tiempos difíciles. La solidaridad, el respeto y la consideración que nos muestran no solo beneficia a quienes venimos de otros lugares, sino a todos los que compartimos esta ciudad. Una vez más agradezco profundamente su empatía y por su tiempo para ayudarnos a construir un entorno más inclusivo y justo para nuestra comunidad. Gracias.
The next three speakers are Gabriel Sanchez, followed by Nicole Murray and Penny Sachs, followed by Ruby.
Good evening, esteemed council members. My name is Gabriel. I've had the honor of being a resident here in Moreno Valley for over 30 years. In all these years I've lived here, one of the things that have always stood out to me is the sense of community we share, right? Our commitment to inclusivity, compassion, and supporting one another. These values are heart of what makes Moreno Valley such a special place to live. Today, I want to express my sincere gratitude for bringing the pro-immigrant resolution passed by the Riverside County Board. And, these resolutions affirm the dignity right of immigrants in our community, and they speak to the shared values we hold dear here in Moreno Valley. As someone who has lived in the city for over 3 decades, I have seen how much we've grown and how much diverse community contributes to our success. Immigrants play a vital role in shaping the culture, economy, and spirit of the city. By considering these resolutions, we send a clear message that Moreno Valley is a place where all people, regardless of their backgrounds or immigrant status, are valued and supported. I commend you for taking the time to review these important issues, for prioritizing the safety and well-being of our residents. Your efforts to ensure that every individual feels safe and welcome in our city are deeply appreciated. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your ongoing dedication to making Moreno Valley a place where everyone could thrive.
The next three speakers are Nicole Murray and Penny Sachs, followed by Ruby, followed by Joe Teague.
Good evening, Council. My name is Nicole Starks Murray, and I'm the Executive Director for U.S. Vets Inland Empire. And me and Penny are here to, one, thank the City of Moreno Valley for all your support, always looking out for our veterans, and also to invite you to engage in some activities that we will be participating in this year to really elevate the veteran services with the current climate that's around us. We really want to keep veterans on the map. So we want to invite you to work with us as we are serving veterans in the Moreno Valley communities and in Riverside County at large. So
Thank you. I'm Penny Sachs. I'm the Development and Communications Manager at US Vets. And I'm excited to share that we're going to be having our Steps for Vets program again this year in May 3rd. I encourage you all to come out and participate, be a part of it. Mayor, thank you so much for your contribution last year. Mr. Delgado for speaking. We really appreciate everything that you did in the City Council. And we are looking for your support this year. We don't need sponsorship, but we do want support. And that is by letting everybody in the city know to come out. This is a great community event, and it makes a difference for our veterans' lives to know that the city's behind them, the city loves them, and it's a great day to enjoy. So I wanted to bring that up and see if we could ask for your support. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Ruby, followed by Joe Teague, followed by Christopher Baca.
My name is Ruby. I live in Moreno Valley. I am here representing my family and my peers around school. We thank the mayor and city council for listening to me and taking action to pass resolution in support of the contribution and the immigration parents and community. I've noticed a change in attitude with certain students in my school and at my extracurricular activities. Their change has not only impacted their learning environment, but the people they spend their time with. These students are now scared to be somewhere they used to consider a safe place. This is a disruption to our education and does not let students work at their full potential because of the fear that they could lose someone. This gives them and their peers a setbacks academically. I hope that what we're doing can help get us back on track. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Joe Teague, followed by Christopher Baca, followed by Fred Buñuelos.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday morning, one of my neighbors calls me up and says, "Joe, there's a police officer and a lady on your property." I said, "Oh," I said, "what do they want?" I said, "Do you know?" He said, "No." And he said, "There's another vehicle coming up, police car." And then I had a neighbor call me, came by and said, "Hey, there's getting to be a bunch of police cars up there at your property." So I got in my car, went up there, and my God, there's probably 10 or 12 police officers. And I got out and asked what's going on. I told them I'm grandfathered in. And they had no warrant. They were accusing me of having vehicles that don't run. Hell, I drove one of them here tonight, and it's just terrible the way things are going. The last time I had a big burglary, there were 6 of them in a vehicle. Some more came up. They all went up the flood control and got a whole bunch of my stuff. Waited an hour and a half for a police officer, couldn't get one. Then my neighbor called up, and it was another hour, and finally the burglars had got what they wanted by going under the street to the back of my property. And this is getting to be a terrible way to live. Hell, I'm afraid to leave my daughter at home. I've got some out-of-state matters I got to take care of, and I'm afraid to leave my crippled up daughter at home, and she's afraid to even live in her own home because You people like those burglars, the homeless that roam up and down the flood control next to me. I'd like for something to be done about it, and I'd like to know who made the phone call to get the police in there. This is a legal matter. I'm entitled to know, and I got the policeman's name down here. So is there a policeman here that can take this? I'd like to get
Thank you, Mr. Teague. I appreciate that. We'll make sure that staff touches base with you right now to get your contact information and follow up on that. Thank you very much.
The next three speakers are Christopher Baca, followed by Fred Buñuelos.
Good afternoon, community staff members and elected officials. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the special interest going on in our community, our city specifically, from dark money and unscrupulous corporate money that's been infiltrated into our city. For example, a lot of these storefront churches that are getting paid a lot of this dark money to come out here and propagate, and they're brainwashed into thinking that their projects are going to benefit our city, and they're getting the dark money that's not reported, but yet they're here. And yet a lot of those churches and things, that's, they're basically getting into politics. And the thing is that a great majority of those churches, such as the one that Reza, Moses Reza and Mary Reza and all those Highland Fairview minions that are supposedly, forgot what they're called. But anyhow, the majority of those churches there, especially I'm using that one, I forgot what it is, but it's on Myers by Paris, where the Rezas have their fake little church thing going, are a lot of undocumented people. I have nothing, I'm fighting for the rights of undocumented people, but my point being the dark money and all this BS that church, the Rezas, Moises, and all of those, when it comes to nonsense, they're out here in masses, and they're undocumented people. Where are they now? Why aren't they helping the situation? Instead, there's no money involved. That's the reason, So I just want to point that out to our community when it comes to the nonsense of Highland Fairview's projects or any of the stuff that they want to get past. Then you have all these people here speaking of stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about, but yet they get the money, they get paid, and our community suffers. And I just want to point that out as far as Citizens United, dark money, and our community and how it suffers with this nonsense. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Fred Buñuelos.
Hello, everyone. I wasn't sure I was going to talk tonight, but I just went to my aunt's 90th birthday party, and I was around a lot of relatives. My great-grandmother was in Aguirre. She had 18 kids. They migrated to this country, and I talked to them about this issue. I don't want to see our city become a sanctuary city. The Congress made these laws, and we're a nation of laws, and we need to follow those laws. I haven't seen anything, these kids are scared, but I haven't seen law enforcement go into the schools. I haven't seen them go on into churches. They're here to come and get the bad guys, the worst of the worst. We had these laws that Congress made these laws. You had, prior to this administration, all this time to get things done, change. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't the Democrats do things to help you out? And why are we at this point where everyone's scared again? Some would call me, I'm an American. with the Mexican heritage. Some would call me a Chicano, some would call me a Pocho. But again, you know, I was around my family. My grandma had 18 kids, 18, and they are all here legally. I have an uncle, my Alex Aguirre. He was in the Second World War. He was in the Korean War, and he fought for this country. And people need to do things the right way. We need to follow the laws. Simple as that. And things need to change. Ever since a little kid, I always, you know, see people talking about La Migra, you know, and all this stuff. Why is it constantly? We need to fix it. And there's rules, and you got to go by those rules. And there's something going on here today we're going to be talking about later. I mean, these people are talking about immigration. Normally, we're supposed to be talking about non-agenda items. I can't stay here. You know, I didn't know what I was going to say, but bottom line is we're a nation of laws. We need to follow those laws. Simple as that. And I hope tonight you discuss and put, you know, so these kids aren't afraid. No one's come in here to the schools yet. I haven't heard anything. Let me know if the ICE is coming into schools. You know, I don't know what else to say. I'll think about it, maybe talk about the next time I come here, but I hope you just talk about it. The county's doing something. The school boards are doing something. As far as the school boards, I hope they're not using taxpayer money to inform people of their constitution, you know, the rights. I'll come back and talk about later, but we're a nation of laws, and those laws need to be followed. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Roy Blackard.
Well, it seems like another interesting meeting coming up with all the things I've heard back and forth. Sometimes I think when are we all in Moreno Valley going to get in the boat and start rowing in the same freaking direction? No matter how, what, and I go to a lot of these things. I hear so many different, mainly bizarre things that keep repeating. I mean, it's like we're living the movie Groundhog Day. We wake up and this same story keeps repeating itself. We all somewhere have to bear a little bit of responsibility or a lot of the responsibility across the board. We ain't changing the dynamic. Somehow we got to figure that out. I see that figuring out nationwide. You see it in that actually, and I bet you this is going to shock a lot of you, 18 to 39 years olds are now the biggest Trump supporters and supporting him by 56%. Would you have even thought that would have been possible 6 months ago? I bring that out because just so you could see, you know, they were down in the 20s in 2016 and 17 when he first came in. That's how things can turn around. About a month ago, I said you could see a calmness, a coolness, and a confidence starting to come across this country. They're starting to see a future. They're starting to see, you know, maybe the chaos will end. One day. I don't know, that edge is getting smaller. One day, before I leave this earth, I'd like to see that happen in my native area. Don't know if it'll ever happen.
That concludes all of public comments, Mayor, not on the items on the agenda.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and thank you to all of our public speakers for joining us this evening. We'll go ahead and move into item I, which is the joint consent calendars. And before I open the consent calendar for public comment, I will look to my colleagues on the dais to see if there are any items that they wish to remove for separate action.
I would like to remove I-15.
Item I-15, is that for questions or a separate vote?
Just for a separate vote and to explain what it is.
Okay, I-15 pulled for separate vote and for questions. Are there any other items from the dais? Okay, seeing none, I think we'll come back to I-15 after we get through the consent calendar. So at this time, we will go ahead and turn it over to Madam Clerk. Do we have any requests to speak on the consent calendar?
We don't have any public comments on this item, Mayor.
Okay. And just to clarify, there's no public comments for any of the consent calendar items, excluding I-15?
We do, Mayor. We have 2 public comments on items on the agenda. Oh, just one. So Seth Cox.
Thank you. See, just, I figured there was somebody, so just wanted to make sure. Good evening.
Evening, council, staff members. Mine are quite trivial based on what already come up here. So I-7, real quickly, the payment register. Yes, I read it. I must have way too much time on my hands, okay? I did notice some things on there that's a little concerning. Small things that the city buys to run the city, okay? And I didn't bring all my notes, but some of them I remember. Printing and stuffing of items. You're paying somebody in Riverside to do it. Isn't there organizations in Moreno Valley that could do it? Tires for the city fleet. You buy them from some other city. You don't buy them from Moreno Valley. So I would suggest maybe buy Moreno Valley Initiative, okay? And granted, it's not large money, but some of them keep some of our small businesses in business, okay? The second one, I-13, the naming of the new park coming up. I'm not against it, okay? Don't get me wrong. I would just like your resolution to read correctly. It says, approve the naming of the new park located at the corner of Alessandro Boulevard and Oliver Street. No such park exists, okay? It is actually on the corner of Pandora and Miranda in the Belisara housing project. So before you pass the resolution, maybe correct it. Details matter when you're doing business. Thanks.
Thank you.
That concludes public comments on items on the agenda, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So before we bring this for a vote, we'll just open it up for any council questions of staff or deliberation.
So, Mr. Cox, you just mentioned the naming of the park and the corner that it was on. I was in the meeting where this conversation came up, so I sit on the Parks and Community and Trail Services, and the reason this conversation, and Councilmember Delgado can talk about it. So the reason it's Alessandro and Oliver we put on the corner was because it's kind of hard to describe because it is a new housing project, because we too inquired about where it was located at and the name of it. And so that's how that came about, that it's saying that it's on the corner of. It's very hard to describe where it is, and the streets are very new. So for future, we have asked that we put it exactly where it's located at, and we have talked with them about that. Okay.
And Madam Councilmember, just would like to add that it's predicated off of the track map.
Yes.
And we always have to go from the track map because the map is what is actually recorded with the recorder's office at the county.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Cox. And then just for deliberation's sake, I do like that first idea that you brought up as well about, buying and purchasing local. I'm sure there's a reason for it. We have to go through public bidding processes that are fair to everybody. I don't know if our city manager would like to expound.
Yes, we do have initiatives like that, but we also have to take a look at the ultimate cost. And so if the local buy is more than outside of the city and the sales tax generated off of that doesn't make economic sense, we're in essence paying more in taxpayer funds than if we were to just purchase it at the lowest possible means.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. So with that, we will go ahead and entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar items with the exception of I-15.
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
You?
Thank you, and that passes, which brings us to the one item that was pulled for separate action, which is I-15, authorization to award a construction contract for the residential traffic management program. And we'll turn it over to Public Works first for a staff report.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. The item before you this evening is to award construction contract to Cali State Paving Incorporated for the citywide residential traffic management program. The contract will allow for the installation of 22 speed cushions on 9 different streets citywide. The project scope includes speed cushion placement and construction, the installation of advanced warning signs, red curbing, and pavement markings. This speed cushion design has won the Federal Innovation Award called Build a Better Mousetrap. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Councilmember Bernard.
Ms. Walker, can you explain exactly what a speed cushion is?
Yes, so most people are used to speed humps in parking lots, on streets. Speed cushion was a design, it's basically like a split speed hump. It allows for our fire apparatus and other emergency apparatus to go over it without having to stop or slow down. One of the problems we had with traditional speed humps and speed bumps is that it slows down our basically our emergency personnel, which is always a bad thing. So we work very hard with fire to come up with a design that would work for them, make it easier so it doesn't slow them down at all, but still does the job of slowing regular traffic down and increasing the safety for those local streets.
Thank you.
And questions from Councilmember Delgado.
Yes, thank you very much for that presentation. Is this, so I noticed there's 8 or 9 locations, right? So are they going to expand, or is this like a trial thing, or is this the beginning of more?
This is the first round, so yes.
Okay.
So this is the beginning of more. These were the highest priority on the list that we have. We have a very long list, but this was the highest priority and the ones that we really wanted to get in. Obviously, every year as we get funding, we will do more and more of them as we can. So
Where do I sign up?
Just for public education purposes, could you briefly, in layman's terms, explain the process for deciding the location of where these cushions go?
Right. So there's a number of factors. Obviously, the type of street. If it's one of the higher speed streets, obviously we can't do that. We usually put them in residential streets. So it's a matter of what is the speed of the street, how much traffic do we have, and we also have to go through and get a petition basically signed off by the neighborhood to say that they're okay with this being placed. So, and if all those criterias are met, then we can go ahead and get that on there. Unfortunately, a lot of things, because of the streets that they want them on, the speed's too high, or we don't get the neighborhood interested in it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Are there any other questions from the dais? I don't see any. So at this time, unless there's any further deliberation, or actually we should go to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, we do not, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So at this time, I am looking for a motion and a second to approve staff's recommendations.
A motion. Second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes unanimously as well. Item J, there are no items for public hearings this evening, which brings us to item K. We have 3 items on general business. A reminder that public comments on each general business item shall be limited to 3 minutes per speaker and must pertain to the subject matter that is under consideration. Those wishing to testify are encouraged to complete a blue speaker slip to the city clerk's office. You can find that slip over by the front doors of the council chamber. Item K1, adoption of resolution establishing policy for excused absences from the city council meetings, and we will turn it over to our city clerk for a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. So under California Government Code Section 36513, a council member's seat becomes vacant if absent without permission for 60 days, consecutive days, depending on the meeting frequency. Currently, the city lacks a formal policy on excused absences. At the February 4th meeting, council colleagues proposed establishing one. So the proposed policy would require council members to notify the city clerk in writing, email or text, at least blank hours before a meeting unless prevented by illness or technical issues. We would like your direction on the appropriate time frame to notifying the city clerk. The city clerk will then inform the council, city manager, and city attorney and announce it at the next meeting. So the excused absences would be as follows: illness, caregiving for a household member, attendance at an official city event, or other reasons approved by 2/3 council vote. Approved absences will be documented in meeting minutes and added to the rules of procedure for council meetings. That concludes my staff report, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And now we are moving to council questions of staff. And a question, because I did go back and watch some of the last meeting, and I know this question came up. I think at the time, Councilmember Delgado mentioned it, but he said that at the time he was not going to motion or take formal action to bring it back. So just curious, how did the item end up on the agenda? Who put it on the agenda?
So I put it on the agenda. It was a motion made to bring back to a future. So because we didn't have a policy, I thought it was important that we bring it forth. But it was motioned by 2 colleagues.
Oh, there was a motion and a second? Who was the motion and the second?
Mayor, there was talk of a motion. There wasn't a formal motion and a second. I suggested that to my colleagues, which is the city clerk and city attorney, that we collectively bring this back. Staff does not want to be in the middle of any council members and their unexcused absence. And so in order to protect staff, we would like to go ahead and formally request that a policy be adopted or at least discussed. If there is no adoption, then at least come up with a policy so that it is clearly identified as to when, how, why, what is included, so that at no part in time is staff in the middle of a request for unexcused absence, which goes against the beliefs of others. So that's why it's back.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. And it was already mentioned in the staff report that the state, according to California Government Code, I forget the number of the section, maybe the city attorney can help me with that one, but yeah, 36513 of the California Government Code, thank you, Councilmember, it clearly states how many days or what the criteria are for an elected official at the local level to vacate their seat due to absences from consecutive meetings. But I guess a question for probably our city attorney. does the state leave it up to municipalities, like cities, to decide what is an excused absence, what is not, and to decide when to grant that and when not to grant it?
No. The state does have some provisions, though, that provide when a seat is vacated, but it doesn't go as far as providing, reasons for excused absences. So when this issue came up, I took a look or conducted kind of an informal survey based on pretty much litigation, and they were just across the board. Some had none, some had a lot, some had just a few. They were just across the board, and they weren't all consistent.
And by that, do you mean some cities had policies, some didn't, and they varied across the board? Okay. But the state does, it's the purview of the city council, in this case, the 5 of us, to decide whether or not to grant an excused absence.
Yes.
And okay, so it's up to the 5 of us, or a majority, I should say. Okay. And then probably my last question. Can staff share maybe over the past year or two, have there been any excused absences or requests for excused absences?
Yes, Mayor. So do you want me to give the names of the elected officials? Okay.
Yes,
so,
please.
For yourself, Mayor Cabrera, you have 2 excused absences and then 1 unexcused. And this is going back, dated 2023 to present, so 2 years. Councilmember Bernard, you have 2 excused absences, 1 unexcused. Councilmember Delgado, you have 3 excused, 1 unexcused. And Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz, you have 1 excused, 2 unexcused, and then none for Councilmember Gonzalez.
And Mayor, I would also like to add that based on, I believe it was in 2024, we did ask for an excuse on one of the absences, and it was later determined that that council member did not want an excused absence. So therefore, that's why we are seeking something to clearly identify so staff is not caught in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. Some confusion, and I think it makes sense to clarify. So looking to my colleagues to see if there's any other questions from the dais for staff before we move to public comment. Okay, seeing no questions, we'll go ahead and move to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We do. Roy Blecker.
I remember over 3 years ago stepping up to this microphone referencing 36513 and being told I didn't know what I was talking about, that we were making things up. We became known as the Forbidden Five. In that time, if you would have done your research, you could have done a Freedom of Information request or just look at your stuff. You could see all this emails that have been sent to this council and staff on how to remedy this. You were given other examples of cities that had this. Do you want to run the same thing? Ms. Baca has been asking for this for almost the same amount of time, and we keep skirting it. The reason you put a policy in place is so we don't wind up being the laughing stock of this freaking entire world. Why don't you explain how we got to this, and why has it taken 3.5 years to get to this point? So let's get to the specifics. You should have a policy. Staff is exactly right. You don't want to run across what we've done. Why don't you explain to the people why we're talking about this today and why it pertains to Moreno Valley? So let's tighten it up. If it's not a doctor's excuse or something, that we are given the reason why the person is asking for an excused absence. You have 60 days to the law, or possibly 70. If you want to take a trip, or you want to go represent a business somewhere else, or you're doing your job, then you make that choice. This is why people don't trust politicians, because you want to carve out special rules, special this. The private sector don't work this way. You either show up to work or you don't. Now, if you're sitting in the emergency room with your legs sawed off by a chainsaw, that's an excused absence. I know I have to make absurd analogies, but maybe I'm hoping at some point that it will get through, that you will take action, the appropriate action, so I don't have to come up here like I did 3.5 years ago and be called from that very dais names and said we didn't know what we were talking about when we were 147% right. Why don't you ever say that? I know I'm asking too much.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And that brings us next to council deliberation, if desired, and looking for any hands raised from my colleagues here. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz.
Hi, thank you. So I know that I've been the one pushing for this policy, and I continue to look to the dais and say that we need to, hold each other accountable. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to make it within 60 days. We're not even asking that anybody get docked pay. I, as you know, work at the college, and we're under Ed Code, not just government codes, and so Education Code requires that the board formally adopt a resolution saying that one of their members is either ill, on jury duty, away for business of the board, or absence due to a hardship deemed acceptable by the board. So those are the only reasons that the representative can get paid. Here, we're not getting docked pay. Maybe we should, but I feel like if we don't show up, unless we're representing the city. So as the city clerk said, I had 2 unexcused absences. I think I was sick once and on vacation another one. And then one of them, I was at a conference for the city and unable to make the meeting. So that's my one excused absence. I was the person who asked that one of my absences that was originally excused be marked as unexcused because it didn't have anything to do with my job here. So I feel that my responsibility to those who elected me is to show up here. And I mean, all I have to do, honestly, to not lose my seat is be here once every 60 days. I don't think that's much to ask that we hold ourselves accountable up here. I would like for us to adopt a resolution saying that unless we're on city business, then the absence is unexcused. I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna have, something happen where I'm not gonna be able to make it. I'll be on vacation. That is gonna happen over the next 4 years. But in order to hold my seat, I think I should just make sure that I'm not gone for 60 days. But other than that, I wouldn't ask for an excused absence if I wasn't away for council business. So I think that's what we should adopt is a policy saying unless we're on council business, then it's unexcused. And 60 days of unexcused, you vacate your seat. That's mine.
Councilmember Delgado.
I'm going to learn how to use this hand raise thing here, so make it easy for you.
I'm not sure if it works.
Yeah, I don't know, but these still work. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for bringing this up. Look, it's really not that hard, and I think it's very fair to say that someone from the public is 147.5% right. That this is something that should have been done a long time ago. We all agree, I think, that we do operate under rules, policies, procedures, laws, and so I think this is about time. And thank you for being persistent. I was at the Peace Officers Memorial 2 years ago, and I was watching the meeting, and one of the members, Elena, said no to excuse me, and I'm like, what? What the heck? Why wouldn't she excuse me? I called in, I told them where I would be, but I get it. I totally get it, and I think the reasons here are acceptable. If we as a body want to change them or modify the reasons, the 1 through 4, I think 4 kind of cleans everything up by saying any, 2/3 vote by the city council. But I think it's long overdue, and shame on us for not bringing it up when that issue happened 2 years ago, last year. I don't know when it was, but this became a major issue in so much where it affected a council member. So I think it's long overdue, and I'm good with it. The meeting shall promptly, or the city council members shall promptly notify the city clerk at least blank hours in advance. When emergencies happen, we really can't. We don't know. But if we try to notify the city council or the city clerk's office to notify everybody else as much advance notice as we can, I don't know if that's going to clean it up, or 24 hours. I don't know if there's a magic number, but I think 24 hours is. I know if I cancel my tax appointment, I still get charged if I don't call in 24 hours, or if I medical appointment or something like that. So I don't know whatever you guys think as far as the notification time frame. 24 hours I think is fair, but I don't know, whatever you guys think. But all that being said, I'm in favor of actually putting in our rules and regulations, our policies, that it's clearly defined. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. So I don't see any other hands raised at the moment. I guess just to add on to two of the points that have been made, I agree that we should have a policy in place. It's been, 35 years or so that the city has been incorporated, and for whatever reason, this topic has not been taken up by the council until now, officially. But I agree that there should be some kind of policy in place. Now the question is what's going to be included. One of the things, as Councilmember Delgado mentioned, is how many hours in advance. I mean, I think it's almost unfair. Like if somebody has a traffic accident or a family member is in the hospital or something, like an hour before the council meeting, I think it's unfair to put a time on that, just because there's so many factors and variables that are out of our control. So that one, that's a tricky one. I don't know if we should put a time on that one. Regarding the pay, actually, that's the first time I ever even heard of that. I didn't even know that was part of this. So I'm glad that came up. That's good to know for everybody. And I think ultimately, again, I agree that we should have a policy that clarifies things, because I also don't like when staff is caught in the middle and you guys are pitted against each other, because there's differences of opinion up here on the dais. But I would like to take a little bit more time just to maybe meet with staff to kind of, give my input. I don't think now is the time to dissect this and change it and amend it and redline and, put addendums in here. Maybe just bring it back to the next meeting to finalize it and formalize it. I'm sure it's something that we could all agree on unless there's something different here to my left from my two colleagues. But ultimately, I think this is pretty close to, a reasonable policy. We should adopt something. I just need a little bit more time to, talk to staff, finalize it, and if we could bring it back to the next meeting. And I also will say, 3 meetings ago, I want to say it was the first meeting in January, at the end of the meeting, I actually took it upon myself to let everybody know that I was going to be taking some family time away from the dais because my wife was pregnant. We were expecting our child. She was actually born Tuesday, actually the last council meeting, the day of the council meeting. That same morning, my daughter was born right here in Moreno Valley. So that's why I was not here at that meeting. And as much as I wish I could be there at home helping my wife right now, I'm here because I have to be, right? I did not have to ask for the excused absences, but as a professional, I thought it was a professional thing to do to request an excused absence and give a reason for it. That was another thing. At the last meeting, I know Madam Clerk said that I requested an excused absence, but the reason was not given, even though I gave the reason to staff. So that was kind of left out of the last meeting. And ultimately, I think that's a professional thing to do. It's like the alternative is no call, no show to work. How would your boss feel if you show up to work and you don't let anybody know and you don't give any reason, you just don't show up? I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think at a minimum, we should actually let, staff, let the council know, hey, I'm not going to be present and this is the reason why. And it's up to the council to decide yes or no. And I think, in this scenario, that was the case for me, but what if any of us up here has a child, What if any of us has to be there with our partner or, like, those are things that we just can't control, It's really difficult. So ultimately, yes, we should have a policy. I just want a little bit more time. If we could bring it back to the next meeting and adopt it. So I'll pause right there.
Honorable Mayor, just one point of clarification. I believe that you had mentioned that MPT referred to reduction of pay. This particular resolution before you does not do that because you're paid a monthly amount, not by meeting. She was referring, I believe, to RCCD's policy. So I just want to make sure that it's clear and concise for the record that the resolution before you has nothing to do with docking of pay, manipulation of pay. It literally is just identifying, I believe that's 4 categories or criteria for an excused absence.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. Is there any further deliberation from the council?
Yeah, so I think that the proposed policy and the resolution is good to go. I'm okay with us giving an hour of time because you say, if you're at work, you're at work. Most places you work, they ask you to do about an hour before your shift. If there's an accident, then we can shift and we can maneuver from that if something happens with your family or anything like that. I think one of my concerns and why I think there needs to be a timeline, for the record, I just want a policy on record because I'm kind of a little done with absence and excuse and not excusal. But one issue that I think we have to really think about is I think telling us an hour before a meeting is not unreasonable. And let me explain why. I have literally shown up here only to be told, for whatever reason, the meeting is canceled. I was ready to go, but the meeting's canceled because we don't have quorum. I think that is also, if you know you're not going to be there, that is the courtesy that you should at least give the rest of your colleagues. I know I've been deathly ill, and the minute I knew I was deathly ill, hey, you guys, I'm not going to make it. I'm literally dying. I'm not going to make it. And just to put it out there, but I don't think saying an hour, 2 hours in advance is that you're not going to make a meeting, barring another emergency. That I don't think that's a problem. And if you look at the proposal and the resolutions, it's actually quite reasonable. It's nothing that I think we need to hammer out more. We need to continue to touch. And another thing is we have meetings coming up. It's going to be brought back at another meeting. I, for one, do not want city staff in the middle, which has been a constant and consistent issue for the last few years since this has come up. City staff is constantly in the middle, and it's just unfair. Instead of kicking the can down the road, we should just address this and just move forward. We all got the information at the same time regarding this policy.
Thank you. So just for clarification here, if it sounds like a majority is in favor of adopting this tonight, so I don't see anywhere in here any mention of, I see where, for example, number 2, the council member has to provide care to an ill spouse, domestic partner, or other partner or dependent who resides with the council member. Does that include, someone who's pregnant, a mother, a father, who that's what that includes as well? Okay. Yeah. And then for the first one that mentions or asks for at least blank hours, are you saying that 1 hour, is that your recommendation, or is there another recommendation?
Yes, I think 1 hour is sufficient. You should know at least 1 hour. I would say 2, but I'm going to give you an hour because I think you should know at least 1 hour before anything hey, I'm not going to make it. And that's why I said there's always exceptions. You're driving and someone T-bones you. There's always an exception to the rule. But in general, you should be able to give someone at least an hour to 2 hours notice. If at work, you have a report time and they ask you to let them know so that they can shift and do whatever needs to be done.
I think it's courteous to give the city clerk and the city manager a heads up if we're not going to, meet quorum. When you were out, the 4 of us, we needed to make sure that we were here. And this actually has nothing to do with that you were out with 2 meetings. I mean, that you could have had unexcused absence for those 2 meetings, and it would have been fine. What I'm saying
you mentioned it though. You brought it up last time you spoke. You brought it up that my wife was pregnant. explicitly
And
brought it
those
up.
are okay because even with having a child and staying at home for 2 meetings, you're still way within the timeline. You're not going to lose your seat. So this, I think, if we adopt this, it protects or it shields us, not just you, like all of us. Because I mean, you only missed 2 meetings. Your seat is not in jeopardy here. It was brought up because you missed a meeting, and that's why you brought it back. But it has nothing to do with your absences are not in question. You're out 2 meetings. You're caring for someone. That's fine. But even then, you don't need those absences to be excused because you're back. Your timeline starts over again. But when we excuse each other's absences, we're shielding ourselves from the public being able to say, hey, you didn't do your job. You didn't show up at the meetings. You're out of that seat. That seat doesn't belong to you. And now the rest of the council, it starts stuff. But if we excuse each other's absences, we're shielding us. We're shielding each other from the public being able to say, hey, you didn't do your job. That seat is vacated. We shouldn't be excusing. And the reason I brought up pay is because we don't lose pay if we're not here. If I miss the next meeting, I'm still going to get paid. So it's not about pay at all. And it's not about you missing just 2 meetings. That's perfectly within the timeline that you're allowed to miss. This is about us protecting each other, because we're the only ones that can excuse each other's absences, from the public being able to take their remedy of, hey, you didn't show up to do your job. That seat is vacant and we get a new representative. We're shielding ourselves from the public.
Well, I would agree with you, but you're the one that is bringing up those points about the pay and about, my family situation. You brought it up last time. If you hadn't, it would have never been part of the conversation. And also, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but at the last meeting, you said that the only reason someone should be excused from the dais for a council meeting is if they're attending a conference on behalf of the city.
Yes.
Did you say that? Yes or no?
Yes, and not a conference, any city business. Ed goes up to DC and represents the city. You go to Sacramento, you represent the city. If you're on city business, the rest of us, should say, hey, he's doing this actual city business. And it should be approved that you're going to go there instead of here, or any of us are going to go. But that was very small of a time for you to be gone. It was 30 days maybe. That wouldn't have, even if we hadn't excused your absences, you wouldn't be in danger. This isn't something that we should be afraid of. You didn't break, even if we had the most strict attendance policy, that what I'm asking, no excused absences unless you're on city business, you'd still be fine. You don't have anything to worry about here.
Nobody was asking about that. It was a professional thing to do, right? To let the council know that I wouldn't be here, and any council member should do that, right?
Yes.
So just wanted to clarify. Thank you for clarifying that, for answering that question. And we have some deliberation or questions from Councilmember Gonzalez.
Brian, the bullet number 3 here, where it defines the excused absence, was that based on best practices, or research from other cities, or something that? I'm just curious.
Bullet number 3, it says the council member must attend an official.
Sorry, page 2 of the staff report.
Oh, page 2 of the staff report. Yeah. Okay.
Bullet 3, the city council shall approve a request to be excused. That's where it gives the reasons.
Oh, okay. So this is actually what is in the resolution and the 4 criteria for the actual unexcused absence. Yeah. So when the 3 of us decided to bring this back, we said, well, let's take a look at our peers and best practices within this particular topic. And these are the items that we were able to identify as being items that are criterion for other jurisdictions. And so we thought it would be reasonable.
Thank you.
Councilmember Delgado.
Yeah, so this is not personal. This just happened to be you. When I was in DC, I took it personal at first when I watched the meeting and she said no, but I soon got over it because I realized this is what we should be doing. So it just happened to be you that this got brought up again. It could have been me, or it could have been Shay, or even Elena, but just know that I think it's a great thing that we're finally doing this. And honestly, we are all excited about you having another baby. And I know you're probably way more excited than us, but that is part of, growing up, not growing up, you know what I mean, but fatherhood and living, you're right? That's part of it. And we understand that. We not one of us didn't understand that. What we want to do is we were asking them, well, you know, what's going on? So it's them that we're protecting as well, besides ourselves. So we need to move on. So I will make a motion to fill in the blank, Madam Clerk, to put 1 hour. Are we all good with the 1 hour? Okay, so are we good with 1 hour? I mean,
I agree with that.
Okay. And then to move forward with the staff recommendation as stated on page 2, bullet point 3, that this is going to become our new policy regarding city council absences. Just looking for a second, but I got clarification from the city
And
manager.
for the record, can we just also include in the motion that the resolution itself that contains the policy will not, in essence, be the format that the policy would be in? It's going to be in our standard policy, and most likely will be policy 1.15.
Not a whereas, and yes, we all understand that, right?
Yeah, I think it's stated in the staff report as well at the end.
Okay, please add that to the motion. I'm looking for a second.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
No.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes with 4 yeses and 1 no. That brings us next to item K2, which is an update from the Environmental and Historical Preservation Board, also known as the EHPB. It's the first time I see it abbreviated like that here on the agenda, regarding an official city mascot and flag design competition. And it looks like we're going to turn it over to Community Development for a staff report.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Angelica Frost-Luvo, Community Development Director. The item before you is an update regarding an official city mascot being incorporated into the city flag design competition. On February 10th, at the regularly scheduled Environmental and Historical Preservation Board meeting, the board discussed the idea of wild burro as a city mascot and incorporating it into the flag design competition. The EHPB discussed the item and expressed concerns regarding limiting creativity by requiring specific design elements, such as the donkey on the flag design. Therefore, the board voted to keep the 2 items separate. This does conclude my presentation. However, I would like to mention that Vice Chair Urena is here with us this evening to help answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. And Mr. Vice Chair, would you like to share any remarks, any questions?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. So as staff has reported, the reason that the HPB acted in that motion was in an effort to keep both items separate. And as staff was relaying to us, especially parks, we know the history of Bernie the Burro being adopted as Parks' official mascot. And as I relayed to Councilmember Gonzalez, last year the United States Senate officially adopted the bald eagle through a resolution and legislation as the official national bird of the U.S. And rather than creating a whole new system where the city and its residents had to vote on a new mascot, I recommended to Councilmember Gonzalez, in our role as an advisory to the City Council, that the City Council act and create a resolution to officially adopt the wild burro, rather than going through this whole mundane process of having the city go out on a fact-finding mission to figure out which exact animal they want. If we already have Bernie the Burro, why get rid of him? Just codify the actual burro and make it official, just to keep separate the items of the flag and the mascot. The whole purpose of this is to not only highlight the city's culture and heritage, but also to invest in it and further the city's creativity as well as its overall true heritage. We all know the controversy of the burros in San Bernardino County, but as this council has recognized, as well as staff and numerous people of the city, the boroughs of Moreno Valley are quintessential. Whether you're driving through Ritchie Canyon or you live in District 2, as I do, and you see them just walking around your street, they're beautiful. And it's, in our opinion, as we voted, to keep it separate, but leave it to you, the city council, to codify it or drum up a whole new idea. We see no reason to delay this or extend it out. We just leave it to you. In our advisory role, we just recommend a resolution that you approve Bernie the Burro and the Wild Burro as the city mascot, just as the United States Senate did for the bald eagle last year in 2024. And if you have any questions regarding the flag or the decision of City Council, I am here for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. Very well said, very well spoken. Not to put you on the spot, but I think you're also, are you president or vice president of ASMVC? Or you're a senator?
I was the former vice president. I graduated in 2024, and now I'm in Cal State San Bernardino.
There you go. Congratulations. Proud MVC alum there as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for that report from the EHPB. I'll bring it up to the dais for my colleagues. Looks like we have Councilmember Gonzalez.
I just want, thank you for your comments and correct. I agree with everything you said. I just want to clarify something. The original motion that was back on January 21st, and I brought up that the burro is pretty much our unofficial mascot. I just want to make him official. And at that time, the council members decided or suggested that I go back to the EHPB and kind of bring that, discuss it, and see what opinions they had. And at the meeting, everyone was favorable to that, but I think it got a little muddled with the flag a little bit. But I continue to think that the burro is our unofficial mascot. Let's elevate him to the official mascot. He's everywhere. He's representative in many components of the city. And I think it's time. I think it's time for Bernie or and his and from the park side to just elevate him to that position. And everyone takes a picture with him. And he's a moniker of the city as far as branding. So those are my comments. I just wanted to clarify that where it came from, and I think it's a positive thing for the city.
Thank you, Councilmember. And looks like we have, it's not showing on the screen, so any other council member comments?
So I'm gonna go ahead and deliberate this out. So then, instead of us going through the entirety of the Wild Burro being the official, well then we already have Bernie, so why are we not just making Bernie the official mascot? Like, to me, if they're not gonna incorporate it over there, this is now becoming double work. When you already have Bernie, and now we're gonna, the Wild Burro, like now we're specifically naming it. We already have Bernie the Burro. I'm pretty sure we're not dragging a Wild Burro in here to be part of the mascot. So why are we just not, if the Parks and Rec already has Bernie Burro, just elevate Bernie the Burro. This is one of the things that I'm starting to see how this is gonna work itself out. But I'm not understanding why this has become the hot button issue of the official city mascot when we have an official city mascot. What you're actually talking about isn't an official city mascot. What you're talking about is an official city animal. That's a separate thing than a mascot. That's what you're really talking about.
So if I can ask for clarification from staff, does the city of Moreno Valley have an official mascot?
Not that I'm aware of. And actually, Bernie the Burro is utilized from Parks and Community Services, and it was born out of an artistic and media approach for them to be able to entice individuals to be engaged in our events. So in your deliberations, all I would ask is, as I oversee media and all of the artistic aspects of our website and social media, I would just please keep in mind that we do not want to blur lines when we are promoting departmental events and so forth. I do not want to see Bernie the Borough end up on, Burke Business and Employment Resource Center flyers and so forth. We just please be very mindful that it becomes very difficult from a media perspective on how we then portray any one of our departmental mascots or departmental flyers from a media perspective.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. So, with that in mind, and open it up to the rest of the council to see if there's any other deliberation. But from my perspective, I 100% support Councilmember Gonzalez's original motion, which was just to elevate, Bernie the Borough to make him our official mascot.
It was the burro, the wild burro, just like the bald eagle, just like these natural animals, the California bear. It wasn't necessarily Bernie the burro. It was the wild burro to make him the national emblem of Moreno Valley. That's it. Why is it controversial? I don't know. It shouldn't be.
It's not that it's controversial. It's not, you're using mascot, and that's why I said what you're asking for is an animal, not a mascot. The clarification for me is the wild burro, fine, then say you want an actual animal. Just like when we're talking about a pit bull, what you want is the city to have an animal that is dedicated to it. That's what you want. It's not controversy. It's not. I'm just trying to get the clarification of you want a wild burro as the official city animal, which is what the bald eagle is, the official animal.
Correct.
It's not a mascot.
Okay, so I support that, I guess, to make the wild burro the city's official animal, now that we've clarified that. Councilmember Delgado?
I'm not going to spend any more time on this, so yeah, I think it should be you because you did it, so.
I make a motion to make the wild burro the official city animal,
I'm
living
sorry,
animal.
we have a public comment before
Oh, sorry.
we motion.
Sorry.
Roy Blecker.
How soon y'all forget? As Pete used to come up here and say with our original city logo, the bird of opportunity flying away from Moreno Valley. I will remind you the original name is still used as a wild burro or a donkey. The name starts with an A and has two of the same letters. Why does S pop in my head? People ask me, well, what are you going to say or how are you going to say? I say, well, I don't have to do. Everybody here writes my own material for me to come up here and talk about this. And I think Mr. Mohan has a great point about it. Watch out what the media or some of us comedy writers will do with something if you're going to make the borough any sort of official mascot of the city. We don't have enough PR problems around here as it is without inviting more in. Again, I agree with CB. We don't need to have, this is getting ridiculous. We know the bureaus are here, they're controversial. Some people love them, some maybe not so much. To each his own, we can have that. But when you start making it official city business or official city representatives, I guess that would be the last one I would do. But this is Moreno Valley, and we do like to be the exception, and we do like to make it even a greater opportunity for others to shoot arrows at us. So again, it does make me crack up. I cracked up when I saw it come out on the agenda. Again, I would say the whole thing, and I think the greater point that was coming from the dais and the well. everybody's got their opinions, everybody's got that. We can all do that. But when you start making things like that potentially, like Mr. Mohan said, could be coming back and fired back at us, or we want to have this displayed or that, just be careful of what you're doing. I would recommend you don't do this, just from that standpoint. I think it could have, overall, I bet you it's going to have a lot more negative connotation than it will have positive. That's for your consideration.
Mr. Mayor, just to add some lightness to this, so California does have an official animal, which is our grizzly bear. They also have an official crustacean, which is our Dungeness crab. So some states have these official flowers, official amphibians. So it's not out of line to have an official animal.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney, for that clarification. I think at this point it's all semantics. So if there's a motion, I think there was a motion or about to be, I'll second that motion.
Motion to make the wild burro the official city natural animal of Moreno Valley. Living animal.
Actually, for clarification, if the motion can be to direct staff to come back to council with a resolution to blank, that would be wonderful, because we do have to come back to council with a resolution to blank.
Direct staff to present a resolution to make the wild burro the official living animal of Moreno Valley.
And I'll second. Is that sufficient for staff? Okay, I'll second that motion. Okay, please call for the vote.
Councilmember Bernard,
No.
Councilmember Delgado,
No.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
No.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to once again thank Vice Chair Ureña and the EHPB for bringing your recommendation. As you mentioned, the recommendation was to make the burro the official city animal. So thank you for that and for coming tonight. Thank you. Okay, with that, we go to item K3, our final item of this evening. And just for the record, Councilmember Shaylinda Bernard is not at the dais, just for the record. Item K3, background information regarding county and school district resolutions and state law pertaining to administration and enforcement of federal immigration laws and regulations. And we will go first to our city manager for a staff report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. If you recall, at the last meeting, there was a motion to bring back this particular topic. So the staff report is been developed and designed to provide as much information to council and to our residents for an engaged conversation about this topic. So I'm not going to go through in detail, but I'll highlight a few things as everything is included in the staff report. On October 5th, 2017, then Governor Brown signed into law the Senate Bill 54. That particular law was deemed the California Values Act, and it created a sanctuary state. So it's a statewide sanctuary law. Then in County of Riverside on February 4th, approved Resolution 2025-055, or 055, my apologies, affirming Riverside County to be a vibrant, compassionate, and welcome county for all law-abiding immigrants and refugees. Then Moreno Valley Unified School District on January 28th, 2025, the Board of Education approved Resolution 2024-2555, providing all children equal access to education regarding immigration status. There was also recently an agenda that was posted after the publishing of our agenda, and RCCD is currently looking at a resolution tonight at their meeting related to the immigration topic. In Staff's review of this particular topic and what the councils before you have done, we have verified and validated that the city has never declared itself a sanctuary city. Although the state law of Senate Bill 54, from the state constitutional standpoint, every subdivision of the state includes 58 counties and all 483 cities within the state, and it makes up the state. And so one could say that from the state constitution standpoint, we are a subdivision of the state and therefore covered by the state sanctuary state. Just fiscal impact based on various narrative within mainstream media nowadays. You do have those that are stating that the potential impact for any city that has approved anything to the contrary of the federal government could potentially lose federal funding. So just wanted to let you know that back in fiscal year 21, we had 15.6 million. Fiscal year 22, 46.5 million. Fiscal year 23, 33.2 million in federal dollars. And unfortunately, at the time of publishing, fiscal year 24 was not yet published with our single audit as we're going through the single audit and the schedule of federal awards, expenditures and awards at this particular point in time. With that, completes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager, for the staff report, and let the record reflect that Councilmember Bernard is present here at the dais. That brings us now to any council questions of staff, if desired. Do my colleagues have any questions for staff? I see Councilmember Delgado.
Yeah, I don't know if this is for Brian or Steve, but does the city of Moreno Valley have any control over the federal government and what they do with their current immigration policy?
No, in fact, a study session that was done in in 2024 kind of outlined the various jurisdictional boundaries, and we do not have the ability to tell the federal government anything related to immigration.
Thank you. And as you read it, so this may be legalese, I don't know, but as you read it, or Brian, City Manager, as you read the resolution from the county, does it change any law? Does it change any procedures or anything that the federal government does in the Riverside County?
No. In fact, the reason why it doesn't is within the title itself. Resolution 2025-055 affirms that Riverside County be a vibrant, compassionate, welcoming county for all law-abiding immigrants and refugees. So therefore, they're not going against anybody that is unlawful. And so they're just following the current laws of the land.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the dais? Councilmember Gonzalez.
And this is a question for Stephen. Is there anything in the board resolution that speaks to sanctuary county or cities, or is it, again, going back to kind of what Councilmember Delgado asked, it's strictly in support of law-abiding immigrants that we're welcoming and they're part of our community? Is there anything in that resolution that speaks to that?
No.
Thank you.
It doesn't state anything about declaring the county to be a sanctuary county.
Thank you. Is there any further, or are there any further questions from the dais for staff? If not, we can go ahead and move into public comment. I don't see any other hands raised. So at this time, Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We do, Mayor. The first three speakers are Eddie Torres, followed by Christopher Baca, followed by Alma Reese.
Hello, good evening. My name is Eddie Torres. I'm the Policy Director with the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice. I'm also a longtime resident of Moreno Valley. I've lived here for about 13 years total, on and off. Went to Vista del Lago, Moreno Valley College, ECR. And, you know, my parents came here in the early 90s. They're immigrants from Mexico. I was born here in Los Angeles, and we've had a great life in this country. My parents did everything right. However, now the situation is very, very different than it was back in 2016, where folks like my parents are considered lawbreakers and they're being sent to Guantanamo Bay, which is very, very different than how things were 8 years ago. So I just wanted to make that point very clear, that this conversation and discussion is really important to have. You heard earlier from school children, from your school districts here that are feeling a lot of stress and anxiety. We've talked to many students that have been diagnosed with depression from the fear of having their parents being deported. And that's not a world where we want to live in. That's not a city that I want to live in, that I've done so much for the city. I used to volunteer right across the street at the rec center. I was a sports coach, football, baseball, you name it. And I volunteered in so many other ways here, MLK walks, that kind of thing. I want to make Moreno Valley a beautiful place to live. It is a beautiful place to live. Almost 25% of the residents here are foreign born. That's a quarter of our residents. It's pretty high up in terms of statistics compared to other cities in the Inland Empire. 25% is pretty high up there. It's a very diverse community. I love that part of it. My wife and I, we want to build a beautiful family here. And we want future generations to feel comfortable moving into Moreno Valley. And we feel like having this discussion is a great step. Learning from the county, learning from the school district, learning from other cities on what they're doing to protect our community is a great step forward. There are multiple ways to continue to work and provide services and protection for immigrants without labeling yourself a sanctuary city, because I know the fear of potentially losing tens of millions of dollars is a real threat for vital services that provide public safety for the community here, right? Public safety also includes people calling the police, people calling fire that are undocumented. And they're less likely to do that if they are scared of law enforcement working with ICE and Border Patrol. And we've had multiple calls come into our hotline that have said in Moreno Valley, in Riverside, in Paris, there is ICE and there is Border Patrol. We have confirmed arrest of that happening already this year. And Supervisor Karen Spiegel mentioned at the last board meeting that there were only 13 ICE arrests at the county last year in 2024. We've already, in our hotline numbers, we've already confirmed at least 4 from January till now. And it's only going to get worse. So it's really important that we do everything that we can as a city to provide these services to protect the immigrant community. It doesn't mean labeling yourself a sanctuary city. There are many creative ways to do that. So I look forward to your discussion and to working with the community here, the folks that are involved, to come up with solutions. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Christopher Baca, followed by Alma Ruiz, followed by Yvette Ruiz.
Good afternoon, community. Oh, first of all, congratulations to Mr. Cabrera for his new child. And several people have mentioned about being a country of laws and a country of immigrants and so forth. But the point is, all the time, there's a financial issue, an economic issue. They're always scapegoating the undocumented. But yet, when things are good, I don't know if the borders are open or whatever the case is, we have all the migrations of people looking for work. If it wasn't needed, they wouldn't be here. But when it does happen, there's never any kind of issues going on as far as ICE and illegal detainments and all of that. So, the cure for the people that are bothered by all this immigration, stop promoting capitalism. And as far as republicanism, the Federalist Papers state, to have a constant change of people coming into the country in order to, but of course, they don't like that one, or that one's put under the rug because it's not white. It's not white people that are replacing all the people. But anyhow, as far as any kind of resolution for the city is concerned, my opinion would be leave well enough alone as far as what they mentioned on fundings and all that. You don't want to mess with any federal fundings. So, just because, I'm not saying give in to any of this stuff, just because there's a possibility of any fundings not coming here because of any kind of, thing. They've already made it clear that we're in a sanctuary city. And also the county has also came up with a resolution. Going back to Prop 187, the way I see it is nationally, you know, it's a national Prop 187, what California went through. It's the same thing. I mean, they removed licenses for the undocumented, but it's a health issue. It's a safety issue. So with all our things that we've done, we brought back the driver's license. It was the same thing with the DUI checkpoints. You know, they say we're a country of laws. The sheriffs wasn't following the laws. They were breaking the laws, and we had to fix that. So with activism, I think we can, you know, get through this thing we're going through. But as far as any sanctuary cities or so forth, I say leave well enough alone. It's been stated. And one thing that I think I'm going to have to send that per email.
The next three speakers are Alma Ruiz, Yvette Ruiz, and Sandra Reyes.
Good evening, Mayor Cabrera and council members. My name is Alma Ruiz, and I am here to express my support in the City of Moreno Valley drafting a resolution in support of law-abiding undocumented residents. On January 26, 2025, the Diocese of San Bernardino celebrated a migrant mass at St. Christopher Catholic Church here in Moreno Valley, which I attended. His Excellency Bishop Emeritus Gerald Barnes celebrated this mass, and during his sermon, his words resonated with me when he said, "Many of our people are living in fear. They are afraid, and this fear makes them paralyzed. They are scared to leave their homes. They are scared to speak. They are scared to go to church and even to go to the hospital. They are living with this kind of fear, and we need to recognize it because they are part of our community, and when they suffer, we suffer. We need to be there to speak for them, to listen to them, to walk with them, to feel with them. This is our mission. This community that Bishop Barnes mentions is your community and my community. So tonight, I'm here to speak on their behalf. I urge you to declare a resolution that states that you care about these residents who positively contribute to this beautiful city, that you recognize that they are among us and that they are important. As I stand here today, I can't help but to think about the advocates before me. I think about my dad, Romelio Ruiz. I think about Victoria Vaca and many others who would be standing here urging you to side with what is right. Lastly, I would like to commend Council Member Bernard for seconding the motion to come up here, for this to come up for discussion and allowing this community to come and share their thoughts and feelings. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Yvette Ruiz, followed by Sandra Reyes, followed by Natalia Saca.
Good evening, Mayor Cabrera and council members. My name is Yvette Ruiz, and I am a daughter of immigrants, Romelio and Isaura Ruiz. I'd like to start by commending you for bringing up this opportunity for us to voice our concerns. I understand that as city and government elected officials, you will be faced with challenging decisions and pressures from all sides. Although the topic of immigrants has been highly politicized, it should never have been, because studies show that they revitalize our city and our country. The Riverside County Board of Supervisors and our school district, and like we've heard, Riverside Community College and many different places have supported a resolution already. So I feel like our city needs to do the same. Doing the right thing for others should not be politicized. Our city's mission and vision statement is to create a safe, healthy, and sustainable city that supports its residents and businesses. The mission of our beloved city also says that it will foster harmony among diverse community groups. Passing this resolution will help you to fulfill the mission and vision of our city. And will also send a message to all of our city's residents that they are important and vital part of our city. I would also like to mention that unfortunately today in our news, we were able to hear of a child that committed suicide, which I won't mention the name, but this was in Texas, and it was all because they were bullied because they kept getting told that their parents were going to be deported. I think in every area that we can, we need to let our residents and our families know that they are safe here. So I'm not saying, and it's understandable for the sanctuary city to be addressed. I'm not saying anything like that, but I feel like our city is, and all of the entities that are part of our city can pass this resolution so that our families feel safe, so that our children can be safe, and more importantly, so that they can thrive in our community. So I truly appreciate your time, and I hope that you make the best decision for our city and families. Thank you very much.
The next three speakers are Sandra Reyes, followed by Natalia Saka, followed by Sammy Luna.
Buenas tardes al apreciable alcalde Cabrera y a todos los miembros del consejo. Quiero hacer un agradecimiento a la concejal Sheila por poner este tema en conversación que es muy importante para todas nuestras comunidades. Nuevamente me presento frente a ustedes representando a la organización TODEC Legal Center, que se fundó hace 40 años, en los años 80, justamente en estas ciudades, como parte de un apoyo de ser centro de respuesta para nuestras comunidades migrantes que llegaban a la ciudad buscando crecimiento, buscando un lugar para establecerse sus residencias. Estas mismas comunidades migrantes y trabajadoras construyeron nuestra ciudad y después se convirtieron en residentes de esta ciudad. El día de hoy nos encontramos en tiempos difíciles porque hemos escuchado en nuestras líneas preocupación acerca de nuestras comunidades. Tienen miedo, tienen incertidumbre sobre qué está pasando en la ciudad y cómo ellos pueden protegerse. Como organización nos parte el corazón escuchar eso y lo único que podemos ofrecer es ser su voz, ¿verdad? Ser la voz de nuestra comunidad, expresar en estos centros qué es lo que estamos escuchando de ellos. Es de vital importancia saber que nuestra comunidad quisiera estar aquí. Ellos saben que se está tratando este tema de conversación, pero siguen temiendo por su integridad y por represalias o que sus nombres sean visibilizados, porque siguen confundidos sobre qué tipo de protecciones existen o si están seguros o no de ir a sus centros de trabajo, de ir a las escuelas, de abrir sus negocios. Es por eso que como iniciativa dentro de la organización estuvimos recibiendo una serie de firmas. Tenemos miles de firmas de residentes de la ciudad de Moreno Valley que están apoyando esta moción, que están apoyando que sea un tema de conversación y que quieren saber qué resoluciones se dan en esta mesa. Muchas gracias por abrir estos temas de conversación. Apreciamos el apoyo de todos los consejeros para poder dar claridad a nuestras comunidades sobre si se van a respetar, si se van a continuar con las leyes que el Estado ha establecido para proteger a las comunidades migrantes. No me queda nada más que decir que agradecemos mucho el apoyo de todos, agradecemos mucho que este tema de conversación esté en la mesa y que como organización vamos a seguir fuertes apoyando todo lo que sea pertinente de nuestro lado. Muchas gracias.
Next three speakers are Natalia Saka, followed by Sammy Luna, followed by Maribel Nunez.
Good evening, council members. My name is Natalia Saka, and I am the Regional Policy Advocate for the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, also known as CHIRLA. Our office is based in San Bernardino, and we serve the entire Inland Empire. We are dedicated to supporting the rights and well-being of immigrants as well as refugees. I'm here to urge you today, this City Council, to take meaningful steps to protect and support Moreno Valley's immigrant community. California has made it clear through laws like SB 54, also known as California's Values Act, that local resources should not be used to support federal immigration enforcement. The Riverside County Board of Supervisors and the Moreno Valley Unified School District has already taken these measures to affirm their support for immigrant families and ensure that all residents, regardless of their immigration status, feel safe accessing public services. Moreno Valley has the same opportunity tonight to adopt policies that reinforce and trust and limit collaboration with ICE and ensure immigrant families can engage with local government without fear. Chirla stands ready to be a resource and partner in this effort. We can support the City Council in passing immigrant-friendly policies and connect immigrant residents and allies with legal services, know your rights education, and other vital community resources. Moreno Valley can set an example of leadership and exclusivity, ensuring that all residents, regardless of immigration status, feel valued and protected. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Sammy Luna, followed by Maribel Nunez, followed by Roy Blackard.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and community. My name is Sammy Luna. I am Moreno Valley Unified School District Board President, as well as Environmental Historic Preservation Board member. But tonight, I am not here representing either of those. I am here as a resident. Mr. Delgado, I'm here in representing your district. Let me go ahead and get started here. I noticed behind you there, you have "In God We Trust." So I wanted to read from Leviticus 19:33. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. As a Moreno Valley resident, I take great pride in the diversity of our community. Compassion for our fellow humans should always be at the forefront of how we treat one another, regardless of immigration status. The ramifications of not supporting one another will have a significantly negative impact on our community. Please reflect on the families and the children of Moreno Valley, many of whom you see enjoying events that our great city hosts. I respectfully urge you, our city council, our city leadership, to follow suit of the Moreno Valley School Board and the Board of Supervisors of the County of Riverside to adopt a resolution supporting our immigrant and refugee community. I leave you with this quote: "Strong people stand up for themselves, but stronger people stand up for others." Thank you.
The next three speakers are Maribel Nunez, followed by Roy Blackard, followed by Nathan Urena.
Hello, everyone. Maribel Nunez with the Inland Equity Community Land Trust and the IE Tenant Union. I want to ditto everything that everybody has said and thank Councilmember Shalinda for putting this forth. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor with your new baby. I wanted to mention that we always keep talking about the taxes that immigrants contribute, and yes, and we don't ask for papers, right, for people to pay for sales tax or anything, right? But also the contribution of culture, that if we're anti-immigrant, then don't eat tacos, don't listen to our music, just, boycott altogether then, or don't ask for our labor and for our services. I am a daughter of immigrants, first generation born here, and I thank my family for coming from Mexico. So I did definitely benefit with immigration reform and working with organizations here today. And so please, we ask that you support this resolution. We have seen there's an importance of this resolution to pass because it impacts how our community and mixed family statuses with U.S. citizen families and non-citizen families. It impacts their engagement here in the city. And so having the statement, as you heard already from our other compañera, about a young girl that had committed suicide. So having these statements are so important so that we get a community engagement. As an organization that does renters' rights and tenant protections, we've done it all over Riverside, Paris, and we want to do some more here in Moreno Valley. After the elections and the statements that we've been seeing, we have seen a decline of engagement with some of the residents that are not U.S. citizens in wanting to speak up if they're suffering from harassment from their slumlords or having to come and do public comments. We've seen the impact. And so these are your constituents, whether they have, if they're U.S. citizens or not, they're your constituents. And it makes an impact if they don't hear from you that you have their back. These are law-abiding residents. They need to hear from you that you support them, so that if there's any issues happening in your district, that they feel comfortable to come to you. I know we are working in Hoopa Valley to do pro-housing designation, and we're trying to collect petitions, and they wanted a reassurance from the city that any petition we submit, that there's no collaboration with ICE. So that's how the fear is, that you're not going to hear from your residents because there's so much fear. And don't you want to have your constituents feel empowered to talk to you about their everyday issues? So I ask to please support something like this. Join Moreno Valley USD and Riverside County Board of Supervisors. We also have a C4 organization that does candidate endorsements. So this will make a big impact how we're going to be looking at the future elections. Thank you so much.
The next two speakers are Roy Blackard, followed by Nathan Urena.
On the last issue, let the record reflect, this may be the first time the council actually followed one of my recommendations. Look for the world to stop spinning any second now. This issue, since the syndicate chair was quoting Bible scriptures, and I don't know exactly when in Matthew, but you look on David Lautaro's Facebook page, because I put it there, none other than Jesus Christ said, you should follow the law. So I want to ask Mr. Ed the cop, do you know of any instance anywhere, not only here or Riverside County or the United States, is anybody in this country lawfully and legally getting harassed, imprisoned, anything of that? The fearmongers come out in force. We've seen it since the beginning of human history. Nobody is saying any private person, private organization can do anything to help somebody that they want. The danger of this is when you start putting public funds and public proclamations behind this. I will take exception to maybe the county didn't do this. You should read the public comments and look to the responses and the questions of the county resolution. There's some very interesting language and points that were brought up, maybe by somebody who was once dubbed down there the conscience of Riverside County. This issue is in flux big time. You hear the U.S. Attorney General commenting on it, taking actions on it. It's really not an issue the city of Moreno Valley should get involved in, mainly because there's potential legal and financial consequences that could be by enacting resolutions or stuff that has been suggested. So again, if there's no evidence that anywhere that anybody's getting harassed or anything, or any law enforcement agency is breaking the law or doing that, then I don't think it's in the purview of Moreno Valley to be weighing in on this issue.
The last speaker is Nathan Urena.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council. My name is Nathan Urena, and as previously mentioned, I am a vice chair for the EHPB, but I stand here not in that position. I stand here as a resident of 21 years of Moreno Valley. I was born at Loma Linda Hospital, was taken right back to Ritchie Canyon, and I was taken back home on Coequa Lane and raised there, and now we live over there off of Forsyth Street. This is my home. I'm going to share two things about on my mother's side. I'm an 8th generation Californian. My family's been here before this was even a state. It was because of my family and many others who ventured from New Mexico, they became the catalyst for Riverside County. It was because of immigrants that this county grew and this nation grew. It doesn't matter whether you were part of Mexico, El Salvador, China, Japan, Russia. It doesn't matter where you came from. You came to this country to build it up. On my father's side, I'm a 2nd generation. My grandparents came over when Reagan granted them amnesty. They came and they toiled in the fields of Imperial County and then ventured up to Fresno County. I am in support of a sanctuary status for this city for the reason that, guess what? There may have been some people previous who said that there is no fear-mongering. But I will share this, and there is evidence because I have filed reports. I was stopped by ICE agents 4 days ago on the county line. They did not care that I was 8th generation Californian. They did not care that I was a civil servant of this city. They did not care that I was a student at the California State University of San Bernardino. They did not care that I was an innocent guy driving home. What they cared about is I was driving a nice car and of the color of my skin. The first thing they did was address me in Spanish. And guess what? Being 8th generation, Spanish doesn't always connect through the generations. You lose it. There's a term in the Hispanic community, I'm pocho. I butcher the Spanish language. I'm sad to say it. That's why I'm taking a Spanish course right now to reaffirm my Spanish. But there is real fear in the community. There is a real threat. There is a real danger. And yes, I'm in favor of those people who break the laws to be deported. Because guess what? Why do we have laws in society? Why? To hold people accountable, to keep the scales of justice balanced. That is the purpose of laws. Without laws, you have anarchy. And with anarchy,
That concludes public comments.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and thank you to all of our public speakers as well. I need to take some speech classes from Nathan because you're a well-spoken young man. Very well done. Next up, we will bring it back to the dais for deliberation. And I'm looking to my colleagues, Councilmember Delgado.
I want to, what are we deliberating? I thought this was a staff report. What is?
So specifically, this staff report is recommendation, review background information regarding the administration and enforcement of the federal immigration laws and regulations and provide any necessary direction to staff.
Direction for whatever?
Whatever you
Okay.
decide and discuss.
Okay, thank you. And so I will start my deliberation and just say, look, in 2020, we got through a very tumultuous time in the United States, but even locally in Moreno Valley with the George Floyd murder. And we, as citizens of Riverside County, Moreno Valley, we got through it. And we will get through this too. I guarantee you, this will not divide us. So I'm going to tell you guys, this will not divide us. Whatever happens globally, because this is not just the United States, this is global. So whatever happens globally and then nationally, this is not going to divide us. We might have a difference of opinion, we as in the 214,000 people in the city of Moreno Valley, but it won't divide us. I guarantee you that this time next year, we will not be divided, we'll still be a strong city. In saying that, my grandparents, my grandfather, Pedro, came from Chihuahua, Mexico, my grandmother from Mexicali, and my dad is a first generation, and I'm second generation. He did not want us to speak Spanish in the 70s. It wasn't prohibited, but it was not as it is today, right? So my Delgado heritage goes back all the way to Chihuahua, and then beyond, I don't know. I sat down and talked to my dad and asked him where his dad was from and where his grandfather was from, but we go way back. But in saying that, it's because my dad came here, or my grandparents came here and had my dad here, that I was able to join the military forces and represent our country. And when I did, I was so proud of what I was doing in the armed forces. I was so proud to be an American. When we salute the flag, we salute it with pride. We don't salute it out of habit. When we come up here and do the flag, the Pledge of Allegiance, do you guys realize, break that term down, Pledge of Allegiance, allegiance to the flag of the United States? I was proud, and I'm honored to bring the flag or to do the pledge whenever my colleagues ask me to. I'm honored to do that. In saying that, I grew up with my grandmother. She passed away, and she taught us. She spoke Spanish to us, but my dad stopped her. I grow up and I get out of the Coast Guard, I get out of the military, and I join the Riverside Sheriff's Department because of my background in the military helped me with that pride and that honor. So saying these laws that our nation, we didn't do it here in Myrna Valley. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department, the Riverside Police Department, we did not create these laws, but they're just that, they are laws. So growing up in the military, and then in the Riverside Sheriff's Department, I'm a man of law. I teach my kids, if the law says go 25 and a 25, you go 25 and a 25. If the law says you wear your seatbelt, you wear your seatbelt. And guess what? They're watching us. They're looking to us for leadership. And for me personally, the leadership that I provide my family is law-abiding. And then going to I have a friend that I work out with at the gym, Mike, and he is undocumented. He's had a business here in the city of Moreno Valley for over 30 years. This is a true story. I asked him at the gym the other day, I said, how is this impacting you or your family? This. What's this? This. Everybody knows what this is, right? I said, how is this impacting your family? How is it impacting you and the way you conduct yourself in the city of Moreno Valley? He says, it's no different. I'm not a lawbreaker. I am a businessman in the city of Moreno Valley, and I conduct business the way I did 6 months ago. And I said, well, I'm glad to hear that, Mike, because I respect your opinion. I respect you, and let's keep working out. And I give him a fist pump. And I'm not saying there's not fear. I believe there is fear because of what all the national media is kind of telling us, right? It is fearful, man. And these kids that come here and say, hey, am I going to see my dad come home from work today? I don't know. He went to Home Depot, and I see him at 5 every day, but am I going to tomorrow? That's a real fear. But guess what, you guys? That's not on us. That's not on this body up here. We didn't do this. We are not instilling that fear, and we ought not to instill that fear. As a matter of fact, I think we should be the calmers of that fear and say, look, you guys continue, you guys, our immigrant population, you guys continue to do what you do. You go to work every day. You provide for your family like you do, like my grandfather did, like my dad did. And we're going to be okay as a society. You guys will be okay. So I'm not sure what, the body up here is very smart, filled with hearts. I think that you guys are represented in the city of Moreno Valley by the right people, by the 5 right people. Now, we not always agree, and that's okay. I think if we did, you guys would not be represented properly. So in saying that, I don't know where this is going to go or what the direction to staff will be. But first and foremost, my personal opinion is we follow the law. The law of the land is the law of the land. And I'm not going to teach my kids I pick and choose what law to follow. I can't. And that's based on how I was raised. That's based on my military and sheriff's department background. my principles are you follow the law. Now, do we go 47 and a 45? Maybe sometimes. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but I'm gonna stay with my principles and follow the law. Thank you. As you said, I yield.
Thank you. Any other council deliberation? Any other comments?
I'd like to thank all the speakers that came out and talked. I think she left already, but I'd like to thank Luz and Todek for coming. Eddie Torres from IC4J, you were very hard to find. My team says hello. And everyone else that came out and spoke, and to all of the children that came out and spoke. I thank you guys for coming up and using your voices for your friends and for your community. I know this conversation, when it typically centers, we center it typically around Latino immigrants. We never talk about that we have a high population of Jamaican and Haitian immigrants in the city of Moreno Valley and Riverside County in general. I feel like that's one thing I think I do want to point out, is that Black immigration is something that's always kind of left out of the discussion, that they're a part of this also. I want to thank everyone who's going out there and doing Know Your Rights training under these circumstances. And I want to just say that I want to reaffirm that we, as a society and as a community in general, we should have humanity and compassion for each other. We should always remember that we are humans, and that I'm just one of these firm believers that no matter how someone gets here, as long as you're law-abiding, I am fine with it, because everything that I know is, if you're not law-abiding, if you are what the propaganda was, rapists, murderers, drug dealers, gang members, you're supposed to be picked up and they were going to deport you. I'm trying to choose my words carefully, because this is a very divisive conversation. And I know that the way this was explained to a lot of people and the way this is being done is the exact opposite, which is why there is a cause for fear. For folks that are saying they're not deporting people, we have people sitting at Guantanamo Bay. We have children camps in Texas currently. By the way, the federal government has put out a request for fund proposal for private prison industries to tell them, to present to them proposals of how we're going to house families of mixed immigration status. This is not a lie. This is not something that's pulled out of the air. This is factual things that are happening. And the reason people are so confused by everything happening is because we're being so overwhelmed, not even a full 30 days in, that we just cannot catch our breath, because when we think we're catching our breath, something else is coming up. So I want to validate all of the feelings that these communities are feeling. I heard today that in the Moreno Valley Unified School District, their biggest issue right now is elementary school kids not coming to school because they're in fear. And let's just go back when 45, who is now 47, was president previously, and we had all those children who were at school, and they raided a meat packing plant, and they came home, and those babies had nobody there, and everybody's like, wait, the kids, where are they gonna go? And they had to stay in the school, in the gym. So I want to say that I recognize your fear. I understand what your concerns are. And I think as a society and as a city, Moreno Valley in general is just, we're very compassionate. We're very thoughtful. We understand. I always caution people to remember, you may not know everyone's status. And just like a lot of our DACA children didn't know, who are now in college, didn't know they weren't residents. They didn't know that they were not citizens of the United States of America until they went to register for something. And a lot of them are still being caught up in these programs. And by the way, they're taking DACA kids too. I work at a college, and this is an ongoing issue that I'm having to grapple with. With that being said, I do believe we should do something similar to what the County of Riverside has done. I understand we are in a sanctuary state, which basically covers everything. I know Sheriff Chad Bianco has been trying to express his concerns that they are only going to pick up people that are doing things that are illegal. But I just want to caution everyone that no matter what decision gets made today, I still think we should treat each other with respect and dignity. I still think people and children in general should feel safe to go to school. Because when those kids aren't in school, they're not learning and they're losing valuable time that they could be applying on their education. No one should be afraid about whether or not their parents are going to get picked up, whether or not someone's going to be there to care for them. Having to explain to your children, if something were to happen to me, this is who you would call. No one should ever be in that predicament or in that situation. I know we live in the state of California where we are always thinking of ways at the state legislature and the governor to ways to minimize that. But I do think the county of Riverside and the resolution that they passed was right on par with it, which just basically says that if you are a law-abiding immigrant or refugee, this is a welcoming county for you. And it is. It's a welcoming county. I've been very, I absolutely just adore living in the county of Riverside, as well as being back and forth in San Bernardino. I went to Cal State San Bernardino also. And I'm telling you, I have lived in different places. There is nothing like the community that you will find in the Inland Empire, as we call it. So with that, I yield my time to the rest of my colleagues.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other council deliberation?
Sure. I also want to say that I think that the resolution passed by our Board of Supervisors was, something that I completely agree with. Riverside County as well as Moreno Valley is welcoming to, all residents. Nobody should be afraid to call the police or fire or report crimes because of their immigration status. Our officers are, held to SB 54 that says they cannot help assist with federal agents. So I believe that we're covered, but there is a reason that we need to say it out loud where we stand, because it matters how we express ourselves. And, like Councilmember Bernard said, we were in a meeting today where the superintendent said the day that this new administration took over, there was so much students absent, mostly from the elementary school, that the district is facing $900,000 of funding loss. Now, you may say that, because, I'm fifth generation or I'm not an immigrant, that it doesn't affect, but they're not taking the money from just the immigrant classrooms. It's going across the board. Everybody's affected, whether you know it or not. When you're have a small business in town and, you're selling, you don't check who your customers are. You don't ask for their immigration status. So when your sales go down, it's affecting all of us. So I agree that we also need to reaffirm that Moreno Valley, like Riverside County, is a vibrant, compassionate, welcoming city for law-abiding immigrants and refugees. So that's my.
Thank you, Councilmember.
I just want to make a few comments and don't want to, repeat what my colleague said. I think these are the times where we need to reaffirm who we are as a society, as a city. There's a lot of our community that resides in the city of Moreno Valley that is in fear, and it's important that that we recognize them for their contributions. And what the County Board of Supervisors did, what the Moreno Valley Unified School District did, shows leadership. It shows that they read what's out there, and they push for these resolutions and these other services that are offered, like the website and whatnot. But I think it's important that we do make a stand, as Mayor Pro Tem said, and make a statement for our community. And I'm there.
Thank you so much to all of my colleagues, and just a few things to share here as well. First, would like to thank everybody who came out this evening. Muchísimas gracias a todos que vinieron esta tarde, esta noche, to share your remarks, to give your opinion, to share your perspectives. Even though it's not easy, it is very difficult to oftentimes to do that, to just stand up and speak. So thank you. Thank you to every single one of you for coming out. Thank you to all of the service organizations that are represented here as well, and those that are not present, but especially those that came out this evening, boots on the ground, coming out to be those leaders on behalf of your organizations that are providing those essential services to our undocumented immigrant communities to ensure that they have the knowledge, the education, that they know their rights, that they know what their legal rights are to be in this country. So thank you for all the work that you are doing. And I also want to thank our Board of Supervisors, especially our supervisor, Dr. Exton Gutierrez, and Supervisor Manny Perez, who represents the Coachella Valley, for being the two supervisors that proposed the resolution that ultimately was passed 4-1 with Supervisor Medina and Supervisor Washington also voting in favor. So the four of them voted in favor of adopting the resolution that is attached to our staff report and that has been mentioned by my colleagues here. I also want to thank MVUSD President Luna and your colleagues for also, I think it was unanimously adopted over at the school board. Thank you for taking that action a few weeks ago. Thank you very much for that leadership. And of course, as my colleagues have said, this is to recognize the contributions and to make a public statement from the city, from the dais, for our law-abiding immigrants and refugees that live, work, and play here in our community every single day. We know they're an essential part of our community. They contribute to our economy, our culture, our workforce in invaluable and unquantifiable ways. Many immigrants and refugees own businesses, as was mentioned. They create jobs, drive economic growth. They contribute to our local economy. That includes tax revenue. That includes funding for the schools, that was mentioned as well. They work in industries including healthcare, education, construction, hospitality, you name it. This also is important because, as has been mentioned, there's a lot of fear, confusion, a lot of misinformation. Unfortunately, a lot of bad actors, social media trolls, social media warriors, those Facebook keyboard warriors that are purposely putting out misinformation on social media to confuse and scare people. And that's just unacceptable. The recent political rhetoric and policy changes have created a lot of uncertainty and lack of clarity, especially within our immigrant community. And we have to take a stand. This resolution hopefully will affirm and reaffirm that Moreno Valley remains a welcoming and supportive community for all who positively contribute and live here in our city. Now, regarding city resources, staff, my colleagues have already mentioned various laws that are in place, both at the federal and state level, which oftentimes or sometimes conflict with one another and also cause some confusion. But we know that here in California, we have to respect state law, and immigration enforcement is not something that the city does. That does not fall within our purview, and I think this resolution also is to just clarify that. We have a lot of other things that our staff has to do on a daily basis that are local law enforcement. They have to respond to 911 calls, to emergencies that are happening in our community. It's the federal government's duty and responsibility to enforce immigration laws. Also, this is to just clarify a little bit more about the purpose and hopefully what we see in this resolution. Nowhere in here, no part of this has anything to do with becoming a sanctuary city. I just want to clarify that. That is not part of this resolution. So just wanted to clarify that. Also, at the same time, making sure that the city of Moreno Valley will follow all applicable state laws. And if those state laws were to change, then we have to follow those as well, if that were to happen in the future. Also, a little bit of a personal perspective on this as well. this topic is especially important to me because even though I myself was born in Los Angeles, raised in Compton, went to Catholic school the first 10 years of my life, and then have had family here in Moreno Valley my entire life, and have called Moreno Valley home for about 11 years now. I'm the proud son of two immigrants, two Mexican immigrants that came to this country, that left everything behind in Jalisco and in Veracruz, left their family, their parents, their siblings, left everything, and just took whatever they could take on their back and traveled to this country. And because of, at that time, some reasonable policies that were in place under the Reagan administration, they had the opportunity to become US citizens. And because of that, one of the results is me having the opportunity to be here, to stand up, to speak, to represent my community. And I am eternally grateful and indebted to my parents for making that sacrifice so many years ago, as is the case for tens of millions of others that live and contribute here in our country. We've already talked about the economic and social benefits. Of course, we are a very diverse community, as was so eloquently said by Councilmember Bernard. And at the end of the day, this is just ensuring that we have a safe and thriving Moreno Valley for everyone, regardless of your immigration status, that everybody can thrive here without fear. And this resolution ultimately is not about politics, it's about people. It's about recognizing that our city's strength comes from our diversity, that our hardworking, law-abiding residents have shared values of opportunity and fairness. And I ask my colleagues to stand in support of this resolution that we can draft to model the resolution that was passed by the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. So with that being said, unless there's any further council deliberation, any other comments from the dais, I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to draft a resolution that models the resolution approved by the Riverside County Board of Supervisors and bring that back at our next meeting for a final vote. I'm seeking a second.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Please call for the vote.
Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Delgado,
No.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes with 4 yeses. Thank you once again to everybody for joining us this evening. And that brings us now to item L, which is Regional Commission and Committee Board Reports. We have a few. We'll go to the March Joint Powers Commission with Councilmember Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I'm providing an update from the March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, February 5th. The commission awarded a contract for the demolition of Building 962, or the former dining hall on the base, and Building 976, the former dormitory 72-2 LGS building. Both buildings have become public nuisances with regular break-ins and fires. Demolition is anticipated to commence by the end of the month, depending on weather conditions. The commission also awarded a contract for the March Inland Port Apron Reconstruction Project. This project will reconstruct pavement management areas 14 and 15, better accommodating existing Group V aircraft. That concludes my update on the last March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on February 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, RCHCA, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. This was my first meeting, so I was excited to be there. It took place on February 13th, 2025. The activity reports for agency attendance roster, Stevens Kangaroo fee transfers from member agencies, financial reports, recovery reserve management, monitoring effects, reserve management for the Southwestern Riverside County multi-species Lake Matthew reserves, SKR management and monitoring efforts received and filed. Additionally, staff recommendations were approved of the following: amendment to the agreement between RCHCA and Southern California Gas Company regarding incidental take authorization for the Stevens Kangaroo Rat for the L1028 hydrostatic test project. Also, discuss election of leadership for calendar year 2025. And then discuss the next meeting, which is scheduled for May 8th. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, RTA, Councilmember Bernard.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'm providing updates from the RTA Board and Administration and Operations Committee held on February 5th. The committee approved to authorize staff to award an agreement to Motive Energy Storage Systems, LLC, for the design and build of a solar PV system for a total project amount of $2.7 million. That concludes my report on the last RTA Board Administration Operations Committee meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, WRCOG Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz.
Okay, at the WRCOG Executive Committee meeting held on February 3rd, 2025, reports for fiscal department activities, committees and agency activities, and various external committees were received and filed. Staff recommendations were approved for the following: approval of a professional services agreement for on-call planning services, TUMP program agreements for 2 reimbursements and 4 reimbursement amendments, and the appointment of WRCOG representatives to various outside committees for calendar year 2025. Additionally, there were 4 items on the agenda that included some discussion. Here are the summaries. The first is the authorization to purchase real property located at 1955 Chicago Avenue. The Executive Committee authorized the Executive Director to purchase the subject property with a not to exceed the amount of $7 million, which includes both the building and the associated due diligence, which is the inspection, surveys, appraisals, and other related items. The second was a recap and summary of the January 10th strategic planning session. Members of the Executive Committee, member agency staff, and WRCOG staff met on January 10th to review the WRCOG strategic plan. The meeting reviewed accomplishments and also discussed key issues and areas of focus for WRCOG in 2025. The third item was the IREN Energy Workforce Gaps Assessment and an MOU with Riverside and San Bernardino County's Workforce Development Departments. IREN developed an energy workforce gaps assessment to analyze energy workforce gaps, employer needs, and existing training opportunities in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. The findings were prioritized and by the IREN workforce roundtables to strengthen collaboration between employers and the workforce, strengthen regional educational and training pipelines from K-12 to energy employment, connect job seekers to training providers, and as well support services to make training and certifications more attainable. The fourth one was the member dues exploration. Member dues paid by each WRCOG member agency is used to support the agency's functions. Dues have not been increased since 2008, and the program has had to bear an increasing amount of overall agency costs. Next meeting will be March 3rd, at 2 p.m. at the County Riverside Administrative Center on Lemon Street in downtown Riverside. This concludes my report.
Thank you. That concludes all of the reports for this evening. That brings us to item M, no association report this evening, which brings us to, put some thought into this, Brian, I told you I would, the legendary city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Just want to welcome back Fire Chief Jesse Park from his assignment as he was working the LA fires under mutual aid agreements and so forth. We just got him back over the weekend, so welcome back. And we will be detailing, or he will be detailing in an email to council the city's efforts with the various apparatuses that were out of the city on mutual aid, but then backfilled with other agencies as well. 2 additional items to highlight. The adult flashlight egg hunt date has changed from April 12th to April 19th. Same time at 6:30 to 9. And this is due to the air show occurring on April 12th and 13th. Staff thought better of it to compete with the air show, so they pushed that back a week. And then also Multicultural and Art Festival is going to be on March 8th, Saturday, from 2 to 6 p.m. here at our Civic Center and Amphitheater. With that, that completes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. That brings us to City Council closing comments, and we'll go to District 4, Councilmember Bernard.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say that I went to March Mountain School and participated in their African American Career Day. And it wasn't March Mountain, my bad. Hold on. I know what March Mountain is, and that is not a junior high. No, it was Mountain View. I was like, no, March Mountain is the alternative school. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Patrick, from the city clerk's office for going out there with me and staffing me like always. It was really nice. I talked to sixth grader and seventh graders in world history. And like always, my favorite thing to do is to make them their own city council. And so just so you're aware, one of the big issues that they have are the same issues we all have, which is homelessness and potholes. So that is always a big winner when I do that. Speaking of homelessness, our first homeless ad hoc committee is tomorrow for myself and the mayor. It will be tomorrow at 4 p.m. I believe it's in this room, right? Yep. Yes. Okay, so it's in City Council chambers tomorrow. Please join us. Again, I just want to thank all the residents and everyone that came out and spoke today. I really, truly appreciate you coming out here and letting us know your concerns, and hopefully we can draft a resolution that can give, just to kind of reinforce the things that myself and my colleagues have stated. And with that, I would like to make a motion that at the next city council meeting, we propose an ordinance that requires all existing commercial centers of 2 acres or more and newly constructed multifamily projects of 51 units or more to have detailed security plan approved by the city to the extent legally permissible. So I'm asking for someone to second that, and let me just kind of explain, because I see some looks over there. One issue that consistently comes up is shopping centers. And some of the larger multifamily structures is the homelessness that are around it, and residents, as well as store owners, shop owners, saying that they don't feel safe or that they are consistently having to deal with homeless people around, and trying to figure out some way for us to help with mitigating that.
Question on the impact for us. Will there be any in your thought process, or do we wait, let the staff kind of do it up, and then will there be a financial impact on us, or is it just requiring new builds of 2 acres or more and then current?
It's just go ahead, Brian.
I don't want to get into too much debate because it's just a motion and a second. That would probably be better when staff returns, if motion and seconded, when staff returns.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And with that, like everyone else has said, Mayor, congratulations, and actually not congratulations to you. Congratulations, Karina, because I know you did all the work while he held your hand at a distance. And good night.
Dad's jobs are important.
Not that important.
I was going to say something, but I will not say anything. Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate that. And the First Lady appreciates it as well. I'm sure she's laughing at home. Thank you so much. Next up, we go to District 3, Councilmember. Oh no, actually, it's kind of out of order here, but we usually go in order of district. So District 3, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, thanking everyone that came out to hear us discuss and deliberate, the items before us. A couple things. First, I want to thank staff for, they hosted me on Friday and went over the various handbooks from the fire department, community development department, parks and services, and public works. It was a great discussion. Great discussion with staff, with Sean, Melissa, Lana, Brian, Angelina, everyone that was there. So it was great to hear their information and make me a better informed citizen, council member, and it was a good time. So I still have 2 more to go, or 2.5, right, more or less.
A lot.
Yeah, I do them on my Fridays off, so it was a good time. Next, on February 8th, we were at Beautiful Millville and went over to Towngate and Rock Ridge Park. So it was a good time to be with the fellow peers here. And we planted a tree and also did some work over there at Rock Ridge with the residents. So it was a good time to meet new people, new residents, and get my work out, which I need. What else? And again, just want to thank the mayor for being a dad again. That's important. I have 2 boys myself, so it's great to have that balance and diversity. So again, just want to say thank you for the great meeting we had, and see you next time.
Thank you. Next up, District 2, Councilmember Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too attended the Beautify Movile, and we worked at Towngate. I think we started at Towngate, but there was the reason I'm even bringing this up is there were so many people at both parks that we finished like at 10:30 and we ate, and then I called Councilmember Gonzalez and I said, "Hey, do I even go to your park over there in District 3? He goes, "We're done too," because there was so many people. So my point is, it was well attended. I don't know if that might have been like the most attended or whatever, but it was well attended. So that goes back to the city manager's comment last meeting when we kind of clarified the reason we do this. We don't do this for free labor. We don't. That's not why we're doing it for, because our workers are so overwhelmed with work that hey, I know how to get free labor in here. Let's do Beautify Movile. That's not why we do it. And it was absolutely exemplified last Saturday when that many people showed up to get dirty, and it was really cool to see. So, so thank you, Jeremy's folks, for making sure that that was well attended, and you guys advertise that and do your job. So that was very, very good. Chief Park, thank you for your service, sir. When you were gone, OEM came in and stepped in for you. She did a great job. But thank you for your service. Thank you for representing the city of Moreno Valley and all that you did out there, and taking your crew. I think we had some units out there and some equipment out there as well. So I proudly say thank you, and we, the city of Moreno Valley, did our part. I know that was catastrophic, unlike anything we've seen stateside anyways. Maui had one, but thank you very much, and please be sure to tell your folks thank you. I attended a Traffic Safety Commission meeting last week, and it was really cool because we have, in the city of Moreno Valley, new curve ahead signs that are lighted because there's some dangerous curves in the city, like the ones in the mountains type thing. But these things are amazing. This is the first 3 signs in the city because I said, are these new? And Melissa can attest, they're brand new, amazing curve ahead, and they're well lit because I think cars were going through the rail like a lot. So very, very good. It was a great meeting, and Mr. Ed Int is very into what he does, and he's amazing. So thank him for that. I attended the Student of the Month breakfast last Wednesday, and that was cool. Obviously, I say it every time that I attend. I come back here and I report back that these kids are amazing. They've gone through a lot of adversity to get where they're at, and they tell their story up on I was going to say the dais, up on the podium. It's extremely heartfelt because they're genuine. And one of the kids that got it last time, she had autism, and it was she was at a different school, but to overcome adversity and make Student of the Month was amazing. And I always close like being kind is not that difficult. I know that the political arena right now is crazy. I try not to watch the news, but you can't help it when you watch 2, 7, 4, or 11. So you just can't help it when you're changing the channel, it's on. So, but that does not mean we won't get through this. That does not mean that we have to be mean to one another. That does not mean that we don't care. Please be kind to one another, and really, I meant what I said earlier that we will get through this. This is just another issue that we as folks from Moreno Valley and Americans and our immigrant population will get through. We will get through this. So thank you very much. Until next time, have a great night. Have a great night.
Thank you. Next up, Mayor Pro Tem Baca, Santa Cruz.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your growing family. I also attended the Community Day of Service, and I want to just say that, as already said, it was a great day. Lots of people out there. I want to personally thank Target for sponsoring, Rancho Verde High School for sending the most number of participants, and the Arbor Day Foundation for donating the tree that my fellow council members helped me plant over at Towngate Park. So thank you so much for that donation. Chief, welcome back. I've been telling everybody you're out there making Moreno Valley proud, so thank you so much. I also attended the Environmental Historical Preservation Board. They meet the second Monday of each month at 6 p.m. in this room. They're looking to expand their meetings and have some guest speakers to come and speak about environmental issues. So if anybody's interested in coming to more like educational sessions that they're gonna start trying to do, their meetings are the second Monday of each month at 6 p.m. in this room. They're going to, next project is to do a flag, so they'll be working on that. The Utilities Commission is the other commission that I'm assigned to. We didn't meet in January because we had our commission dinner, but we'll be meeting on the 26th in this room, which is the fourth Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. So I invite you, if you're interested in utilities, to come to that meeting as well. We did get $278,000 funded by the state gas tax, and that installed speed cushions citywide. And I just want to highlight that if you're interested in seeing these award-winning speed cushions, in District 1 there are several, including on Chagall Street, Rockcrest Drive, Alana Street, and Searson Drive. So these are the best mousetrap out there. So started in Moreno Valley, so some city pride there, so check those out. We also have $1.2 million in CDBG funding, and that will be funding some sidewalk improvements in District 1, mainly along Bay Avenue between Day Street and Grant Street. So that will be over the next year, so look forward to those improvements in District 1. And finally, I just want to, I don't know if you shared all of the spring events, but one I want to highlight is the Sunshine Extravaganza. And this is in addition to our teen egg hunt, adult egg hunt, and children's egg hunt. This is an adaptive egg hunt. So this is for children with special needs. And this will be held on Saturday, March 15th from 9 to 11 a.m. And it's adaptive, sensory-friendly egg hunt for children 3 to 13. So this would be free indoors and is our part of our expanding programming for special needs and to be more inclusive. And as spring break is coming, we're also starting up our day camp. Will be held 2 sessions for the spring break, March 24th through the 28th and April 1st through the 4th. So those, of course, they'll be closed on the 31st during that week for Cesar Chavez Day. And finally, I want to highlight a program started by Supervisor Gutierrez to try and reduce the number of animals at the county animal shelter, which is in San Jacinto. So right now you are able to foster a cat or a dog 6 months or older at home, $25 each, up to 2 animals for 3 weeks. So you can make $1,000. We have up to $1,000. You get a bonus if you get the animal adopted within 2 weeks, and the adoption, spay or neuter, licensing, and microchipping will all be included for that person who adopts. So if anybody's looking for a 7-month dog that has eaten 1 shoe at my house, she's available for adoption. That'll end my comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to all of my colleagues. And just a couple brief remarks. Number one, I would like to thank and commend Councilmember Gonzalez for at the last meeting motioning the proposal for the resolution that moved forward today, and look forward to seeing that come back. Also want to thank Councilmember Bernard for seconding that motion and giving us the opportunity to have the deliberation and ultimately that passing. Also would like to thank Chief Park. Thank you so much for your service, getting deployed out there, to respond to the Altadena, Pasadena, and Palisades fires. That was, as we all saw, a big disaster. A lot of people affected, unfortunately, but because we have amazing folks that work here in the city of Moreno Valley, in our fire department, police department, city hall, they ask for that assistance, right? So thank you, Chief Park. Thank you to all of your team as well for the work that you do. And on that note, I did, a few weeks ago when the fires were happening and everything, have some direct communication with staff, city manager's office and others, just to kind of bring back that conversation about what is the city doing to prepare for those type of situations. And I know there's some work already happening. I believe the fire department will be coming to us or sending some new information, some updated information to us pretty soon. But definitely just wanted to mention that because we have to be prepared and extra prepared, right? It's better to be safe than sorry. So I look forward to seeing, some of that new information and any proposals that come back to the council as well, so we can continue to make those investments to ensure that our city is as prepared and safe as possible from any wildfires like what happened out toward LA. Also would like to mention that last month, I was able to partner with a couple organizations, Power Speaks Louder, Brittany Hunter, that the city works with directly, and another nonprofit organization out of Los Angeles to collect donations from the city of Moreno Valley. And actually we had people come from Corona, from Riverside. We had a lot of people come throughout a 5-hour window, donate items at the Moreno Valley Mall. We packed them all into a trailer and we delivered it out toward LA so that those donations could go out to those that were affected by the wildfires. Seth Cox mentioned it, I think the last meeting or the one before that. Thank him, because he's the one that drove. He drove the truck and the trailer, and he's just amazing. And the entire Power Speaks Louder team is just amazing. Brittany, thank you. Your parents, all of you guys for the work that you do every single week, every single month here to give back to our community. And I also want to mention that Congressman Tucano, I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, on the floor of the House of Representatives, entered into the record, I believe it was a resolution or something similar to that, recognizing Rancho Verde High School's participation in the Rose Parade. So they're officially in the congressional record, and I want to thank Congressman Tucano for doing that and for going out to Rancho Verde High School to spend time with the students and the band to recognize their efforts and bringing a spotlight to the city of Moreno Valley. Mayor Paris was there too, but it's all right. We always have a friendly challenge. So yeah, with that, I'm officially a girl dad now, as everybody has mentioned. So just, adjusting to her sleep schedule as best as we can. And thank you to the First Lady, to Miss Karina Tamayo Cabrera, for being such an amazing mother. So with that, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you at the next meeting.